Chapter 1709. Luli was not out yet. After cultivating for half a month, Luli had integrated the Slayer's move with the Slayer's move. This move, which he named the Slayer's Ghost Cut, was more powerful. If Luli could hit Yuxing, he was confident that he could wound him easily. Luli had been studying formations. Though he was accompanied by beauties, he could live a comfortable life. That being said, Luli did not want to stay in this damned place forever. The energy of the demon was seeping in. What was the situation outside? Luli had no idea. After the blood demon formation became a formation of death, the entire city was covered in a blood-red shield. Luli could not see anything outside. The blood demon formation itself was a powerful formation. Now, after another upgrade, it had become a formation of death. It was more difficult to crack the formation. Luli had been studying for a long time, but he did not learn much. He had memorized the bloodline diagram of the formation and studied it over and over again. Blood Fairy had been working on it as well, trying to find a way to crack the formation. Now, there was a difficult problem in front of Luli like a moat. If he could not solve this problem, he could forget about cracking the formation. Bloodlines. Neither he nor Blood Fairy could touch the bloodlines. The bloodlines were a cage that locked him in and also a formation. If he could not touch the bloodlines, he could not change the formation. Then how could he crack the formation? This formation did not have a foundation, stones, or eyes. The only way to crack the formation was to change the formation patterns. How could he change the formation patterns? If he could not touch the formation patterns, how could he change them by waving his hand? Luli had been thinking about this for days. Ling Qingyan had been cultivating so she did not disturb Luli. Luli did not agree with her way of doing things. That being said, it was understandable that she had to rely on herself when he thought about her life experience. She had made it clear that she would only be his lover. Luli did not think too much about it. Blood Fairy, have you learned anything recently? Luli sent a message to Blood Fairy. They could study together to verify each other's ideas. This way, it would be easier to crack the formation. Blood Fairy quickly replied, "This evil formation is too strange. I can sense that the formation has been locked down. If I try to change even one of the patterns, I'll suffer the full force of the formation's backlash. Unless the energy of the formation is drained, it will be hard to crack." The energy has been consumed? Luli frowned. When he was attacking the formation, his attacks would pierce through it without affecting the bloodlines. If he could keep attacking, given the intensity of his attacks, he might be able to crack the formation. Give it a try? Luli thought about it and walked out of the castle. He swung his sword in a random direction. Accompanied by a piercing sound, a saber light lit up in the sky. Then, the saber light turned 3 times in midair and swept forward. Boom, 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 one by one, the castles were smashed into smithereens. The momentum of the blade was unstoppable, and it soon arrived near the bloodline. Luli's psychic power was locked on to the ray of sword light, hoping that it could make some impact on the bloodline. The result disappointed Luli. The ray of sword light pierced through the bloodline and vanished from Luli's sight. The bloodline gave off a faint red glow which isolated Luli's psychic power. He could not get any information from the outside. Boom, boom, boom. Luli could not see what was going on, but it was a mess out there. There were demons everywhere. All of a sudden, a ray of blood-red ray of sword light flew out from the city. Everywhere it passed, demons with 4 or 6 wings were minced into pieces. The ray of sword light was intimidating. It flew for dozens of miles and cleared a path for the demons. Wherever the ray of sword light passed, all the demons were minced to death. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! Many powerful demons were alarmed. They flew over and stared at the ray of sword light in shock. Though they were not facing the ray of sword light directly, they could feel the invincible momentum and pressure from it. Hiss, hiss! The few 8-winged demons sucked in a breath of cold air and flew far away from the city. They were afraid that another saber light would fly out from the city. Well, there were scouts outside the demon camp at all times. Naturally, the human scouts were alarmed by this strange situation. When they saw the blood-red ray of sword light, they were overjoyed. Many recognized the ray of sword light. It was the Slayer's move, Lu Li's move. The Slayer's move? Pan Yuqin was overjoyed when she heard the news. She came to the demon camp in person to observe. She had just sneaked over when another ray of sword light whooshed out from the city, clearing another path among the demon army. It is the Slayer's move, but it seems to be much more powerful. Pan Yuqin's eyes glowed. She trembled and tears welled up in her eyes. She continued to observe. The demon camp was in chaos. Many demons had recognized Lu Li's move. Now, Lu Li suddenly released it from the city. It was such a powerful move. Without Emperor Yoshing, who could stand it? If Lu Li kept releasing the move, the tens of millions of demons wouldn't be enough for him to kill. The demon camp was in turmoil. They would all die if they didn't run. Many demons were frightened. All they could think of was to run. The Emperor has given his order. Stay at the camp and do not leave. An 8-winged demon shouted. The other demons were afraid to move. For them, Emperor Yoshing was an overlord. Nobody dared to disobey him. None of the demons would dare to move even if they all died here. However, after a while, the demons saw no more ray of sword light coming out from the city. Lu Li had attacked twice. Seeing that the red line showed no reaction, he gave up. Much of his divine energy had been corroded. He could not use divine energy recklessly. What a strange formation! Lu Li frowned. He had never heard of such a formation. It could not be attacked. But when people were close, it would attack. Looking at the formation, Lu Li felt his hands were tied. 2 ways. An hour later, Lu Li figured something out. To crack the formation, he could either find a way to control it or find a way to lift the space seal. Otherwise, he could only think of a way to remove the spatial seal. Then, he could fly through the void and escape. These 2 ways were the best options apart from cracking the formation. Lu Li stared at the demonic energy coming from the red line. He wondered if he should try to be demonized. If both his body and soul were demonized, then he could control the formation. After all, the formation was built at the expense of Yu Wang and Yoda. In other words, the formation had their marks. If he was demonized, then his body would have their marks as well. Maybe he could control the formation. Never mind. I don't want to take the risk. After some thoughts, Lu Li rejected the idea. If he was demonized, his soul would disappear and he would become a walking dead. By then, he could even kill Ling Qinyan, let alone control the formation and get out. Chapter 17:10. Space had its own rules. If the rules of space were broken, then the space would be in trouble. There might be cracks, tremors, or even collapse. Some great formations could seal space. They would cause the spatial laws of this area to become chaotic, changing the original laws. This space would no longer be normal, completely breaking away from the outside world. Could a person teleport to the Earth Imperial Universe in the Heaven Reverse Universe? The answer was no. At least not Lu Li. Not even those who were stronger than him could do it. Not unless the fundamental principle of space was cultivated to a certain level where the fundamental principle of space could be ignored or even altered. The space here would be sealed off and turned into an independent world, disconnected from the space outside. Lu Li could not fly in the void because the space here could not be connected to the space outside. To break the seal, he had to either crack the formation or change the formation of space in the formation. Clearly, neither of the 2 options would work. Otherwise, Lu Li wouldn't have tried to break the seal. How about I mess up the space here or even collapse it? Will the backlash from the space destroy the formation? Lu Li thought of an idea. The collapse of space would trigger a horrifying force. By then, the backlash from the space could destroy the formation. But there was a problem. He was strong and he knew something about formation of space. Could Ling Qinyan survive it? Whoosh! He flew into the castle and activated the inhibition formation. Ling Qinyan had stopped cultivating. Looking at Lu Li gently, she asked, "Have you learned anything?" "No." Lu Li shrugged and asked, "If I collapse the space in the castle, are you sure you can survive?" "Collapse of space? You are out of your mind." Ling Qinyan was taken aback. She shook her head and said with certainty, "If you are in the center of a space collapse, the backlash will be horrifying. Unless you have the protection of the primordial spirit, you will die for sure." "I will not be able to survive it." "Then never mind." Lu Li walked over and lay down next to Ling Qinyan. He rested his head on her lap. From this angle they could see the two towering mountains. Lu Li thought about it and said, "I am trying to figure out a way to remove the space seal here. In this way, I can take you across the void and escape. The law of space is a supreme law. I'm not good at it. What I'm best at is the true meaning of the law of water." Ling Qinyan stroked Lu Li's face and said with a smile, "Don't put too much pressure on yourself. If we can't get out, then this is our fate. I accept it. There's always a way out." Lu Li grabbed Ling Qinyan's hands and said with a smile, "We have endured so many sufferings over the years. We will be able to get through this time as well. Since we can't let the space collapse." Lu Li stopped talking to Ling Qinyan and kept on thinking. He murmured to himself, "Then I will have to figure out a way to connect this space with the space outside. But the formation has separated us. How can we connect the two worlds?" Ling Qinyan thought about it and said with a frown, "Lu Li, tell me about the formation. I don't know much about it, but maybe I can give you some ideas." "Okay." Lu Li said without hiding anything, "This blood demon formation is a miraculous one. Usually, any formation will have formation stones, foundation, formation eyes, lines of formation lines, and so on. But this one has nothing, only formation patterns. Those are the bloodlines you see. Those are the array patterns. That dead 10-winged demon poured his blood essence and all the energy in his body into these bloodlines. With these bloodlines, he condensed a grand array. This grand array drew upon the power of heaven and earth to form a powerful defense. Another 10-winged demon died. Before he died, he poured his essence blood and all his energy into the formation and turned it into a dead formation. There are 3 ways to solve the formation. The first is to change the formation patterns, the second is to crack the space seal, and the third is to find a way to control the formation. Lu Li told Ling Qinyan everything he knew and understood. He spoke in detail and Ling Qinyan listened carefully. Lu Li's ideas were comprehensive. Ling Qinyan didn't know much about formations, so she couldn't think of other ways. She had to follow Lu Li's train of thought. "I will do as you say." When Lu Li finished, Ling Qinyan murmured, "It is difficult to solve the formation because those bloodlines cannot be touched. If you control the formation, you may be demonized. Then, the only way is to crack the space seal? If the formation is not cracked, it will be difficult to crack the space seal. Don't choose to control the formation. If you become a demon slave, you might as well die. Alas, you cannot touch those bloodlines. If you can change the formation patterns, it will be better. The formations of the realm of demons are so strange." Hearing Ling Qinyan's murmur, Lu Li suddenly sat up. He bumped his head against Ling Qinyan's chest and almost knocked her down. Lu Li stared at Ling Qinyan with his eyes wide open and said, "What did you say? The last sentence. What is it?" Ling Qinyan put her hand on her chest. She blinked in confusion and said, "I said the formations of the realm of demons are so strange." "No, I said something before that." Lu Li shook his head. Ling Qinyan thought about it and said, "I said it will be better if we can change the formation patterns through the air." "Through the air? Through the air." Lu Li's eyes became blurry. He kept murmuring, Ling Qinyan stared at Lu Li in confusion. She held her breath and did not dare to make any sound lest she might interrupt Lu Li's train of thought. Yes, through the air. I have reached a dead end. Ha ha ha. Lu Li's eyes suddenly glowed. She held Ling Qingyan's big mouth and kissed him hard. She laughed and said, Prince of Yen, you are so smart. Ling Qingyan was confused. But seeing that Lu Li was so happy, he must have made a breakthrough. She was delighted and asked, Lu Li, have you thought of a way? I have some ideas. I will tell you later. Lu Li sat down at once. His train of thought had been in a dead end. Before, he had to rely on Blood Fairy to solve the formations. Blood Fairy could not touch those bloodlines and neither could Lu Li. Therefore, Lu Li believed that he could not change the formation patterns. Now, Ling Qinyan had given him a direction. He could control the formation patterns through the air. He could find a way to pour some energy into the formation patterns and then use the energy to change the pattern. A formation pattern was crucial. If the pattern was changed, the function of the formation would be changed. The blood threads were formed by absorbing the blood essence and energy of the two ten-winged demons. He could also inject his own blood essence and energy into the blood thread. This way, the blood threads would have his imprint, and he would have a way to control the array pattern. Of course, there were some complicated problems involved. For example, how should he pour in his blood and energy? Which formation needed to be changed? Otherwise, if he messed around, the formation might backfire. If the formation was changed again, the bloodlines could strangle him and Ling Qinyan. Chapter 17:11. Why did he stop? Outside the Star Sand City, Pan Yuqin and the others had been waiting for over a day. No more rays of sword light came out. The demons were relieved, but Pan Yuqin and the others were burning with anxiety. The greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. The situation was critical. They had thought that Lu Li would not be able to come out. All of a sudden, Lu Li released 2 rays of sword light. Pan Yuqin and the others thought Lu Li was about to come out. However, he didn't. Inevitably, they felt disappointed. The powerful demons sent scouts to the north at once. But the distance was a bit far. It would take Emperor Yoshing some time to receive the message. Lu Li stopped attacking. The demons settled down. But most of the demons were on tenterhooks, fearing that a ray of sword light would come out and mince them into pieces. Time flew by. Half a month had passed. Pan Yuqin and the others went back. Lu Li did not come out, which meant that he would not come out any time soon. Was he just trying to crack the formation? But it was evident that he could not crack the formation by force. The formation masters of the craftsmen's sect worked for half a month to no avail. The formation of immortals and demons was in the demons' camp. They could not crack it without getting close. Those formation masters might be killed or demonized if they were to get close. There was no way to resolve the conflict. Some formation masters tried to come up with a solution, but all failed. Emperor Yoshing had arrived at the north of the divinity. In another half a month, he would arrive at the land of Yuyan. Emperor Yoshing's goal was clear. He wanted to go to the land of Yuyan. There were too many humans there. If he could conquer the land of Yuyan, he could gain tens of billions or even hundreds of billions of demon slaves. By then, these demon slaves could wreak havoc and level the divinity to the ground. Everyone at the land of Yuyan was in danger. Emperor Yoshing was too notorious. Too many human warriors had died in his hand. Even Lord Ji was killed. The fact that Lu Li was trapped in the Star Sand City could not be kept under wrap. The news had begun to spread out. Not even the most powerful human warriors could defeat Emperor Yoshing. Now, everyone could only pin their hopes on the formation of heaven and earth at the land of Yuyan. If this formation could not stop Emperor Yoshing, the divinity would perish. Some of the great clans had already begun to quietly move, searching for some secret realms or minor worlds to move their clans and resources into. Although these mystic realms and small worlds might not necessarily be safe, there was at least some hope of escaping the pursuit of the demons. Zhuoqiu, Luo Guan, and the others went to the land of Yuyan and began to make arrangements. They even activated the heaven and earth divine formation and demonstrated it many times, preparing to join forces to kill great Emperor Yoshing. It had to be said that the heaven and earth divine formation of the land of Yuyan was very powerful. Zhuoqiu and the others tested it and found that their combat strength had increased a lot. Their speed, attack, defense and reaction speed had greatly improved, which greatly boosted their morale. Zhuoqiu and Luo Guan were originally the top 10 experts on the god list. After their battle prowess increased, both of them were full of confidence. Although he could not guarantee that he would be able to kill great Emperor Yoshing, it should not be a problem for him to stop him. Emperor Yoshing received a message from the base camp of the demons. He sent scouts back to tell all the demons to stay calm and that Luli would not come out. Luli didn't know what was going on outside, so he wouldn't continue to attack the demon army. They continued to slaughter their way north. After half a month, great Emperor Yoshing and the others finally arrived outside the land of Yuyan. The land of Yuyan was full of scouts and armies. The appearance of great Emperor Yoshing and the others immediately alerted all the scouts. The entire land of Yuyan was on high alert, as if they were facing a great enemy. After great Emperor Yoshing and the others showed up, they immediately went into hiding. This made the land of Yuyan even more nervous and fearful. Because they were afraid that great Emperor Yoshing would sneak in, many supreme warriors and super mighty figures of the divinity acted as scouts, searching everywhere. Great Emperor Yoshing had disappeared. The 10 eight-winged demons were also nowhere to be seen. There were so many scouts in the land of Yuyan, but they did not notice that great Emperor Yoshing and the 10-winged demons had sneaked into the land of Yuyan. Time passed day by day. Zhuoqiu and the others were always tense and uneasy. After 10 days, there was still no movement from great Emperor Yoshing. Some people suspected that great Emperor Yoshing was making a feint. To attract all the experts to the land of Yuyan, was his real target Divine Artisan City and Spacetime City? Divine Artisan City was a primordial spirit heavenly treasure, and there were countless members of the Zhuoqiu family in the Spacetime Palace. If great Emperor Yoshing's target was really these two cities, then Luo Guan and Zhuoqiu could only cry. The problem was, did they dare to leave the land of Yuyan now? They did not dare. If the heavenly formation of heaven and earth was broken, the land of Yuyan would immediately fall, and there would be no hope left. Star Sand City had completely given up. All the formation breaking masters had been mobilized back. Since they could not break the formation, what was the point of staying here? They even sent out so many supreme warriors of the divinity world to protect them. Everyone's gaze turned to the land of Yuyan. Countless scouts were mobilized to search for the missing great Emperor Yoshing and the other demons. Another 8 days passed. A piece of news reached the land of Yuyan, causing Zhuoqiu to almost explode. 11 demons had appeared outside the Spacetime City. One of them was a 10-winged demon, while the other 10 were 8-winged demons. What Zhuoqiu and the others were worried about had happened. Great Emperor Yoshing was indeed making a feint. His target was the Spacetime City. What was inside the Spacetime City? There were many clansmen of the Zhuoqiu clan. Most importantly, there was the largest Spacetime altar in the Spacetime Manor. The Spacetime Manor could teleport so quickly and to so many places mainly because of this super Spacetime altar. If the Spacetime City fell, great Emperor Yoshing would be able to control the Spacetime altar. Then, he would be able to use this altar to teleport to any place in the divine realm. He could even teleport to thousands of mortal domains. Before they could react, the Spacetime Manor sent another piece of news. In just 1 hour, the Spacetime City had fallen. Oh no! Luo Guan suddenly reacted. Her face turned pale as she exclaimed, The space-time manor can teleport directly to Divine Craftsman City. Divine Craftsman City had 3 Divine Realm Paragons guarding it. Although the protective shield of Divine Craftsman City was activated at all times, the space-time manor's teleportation formation was not closed. The space-time manor could teleport to Divine Craftsman City at will. When Luo Guan urgently sent someone to send a message back, only 2 hours later, another piece of news came: Divine Craftsman City had fallen. Great Emperor Yoshing had gone alone and teleported to Divine Craftsman City. The 3 Divine Realm Paragons in the city had been killed. Divine Craftsman City had changed owners. PFFF. Luo Guan spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the spot. Divine Craftsman City was a primordial spirit heaven treasure. It was the craftsman sect's greatest trump card. Now that this trump card had been stolen, half of the craftsman sect's foundation had been destroyed. The good thing was that the Hall of Life and Death and the Heaven Secrets Pavilion did not have many people. What's more, most of the resources in these 2 cities had been taken. Even if they were occupied, it would not affect them too much. We're in big trouble. Pan Wang and company's faces darkened. Now that the Spacetime City had been taken, Old Fiend Yoshing had obtained the Spacetime Altar. That was equivalent to controlling the entire Divine Realm. It would be much easier for him to take over the Divine Realm. He could make use of the Spacetime Altar to quickly gather all the evil demon formidable martial artists and attack wherever he pointed. Perhaps he had never thought of taking over the land of Yuyan first. All he wanted was to take over the vast Divine Realm. There were so many humans living in the land of Yuyan. There were so many formidable martial artists and clans. However, there were so few resources. What's more, the 4 great factions and the 9 god kings were mortal enemies. Chapter 1712. Report. Inside Pan King City, a voice rang out, startling a group of formidable martial artists inside. Such a sharp voice. Could there be worse news than the Spacetime Manor's Divine Craftsman City falling? A scout commander from the Spacetime Manor walked in and looked at Zhuoqilu with red eyes. The latter's heart sank and did not dare to ask anything. Seeing that the scout commander did not speak, Pan King asked, "What happened? Tell me quickly." The scout sobbed for a while and said with red eyes, "Everyone from the Spacetime Manor has been killed. Their heads are hanging outside the city walls." Boom! As if struck by lightning, Zhuoqilu's body swayed and almost fell to the ground. The Spacetime Manor's teleportation altar was too fast. The Divine Craftsman City had not fallen yet. Thus, Zhuoqilu did not move too many people. She only moved some of the elite disciples. Most of her people were still in the city. Even though he had already lost all hope when Larch Yoshing attacked the Spacetime Manor, he still felt like he had been struck by lightning when he heard the news. Larch Yoshing did not turn everyone from the Spacetime Manor into demonic slaves. Instead, he beheaded them and hung their heads on the city walls. It was obvious that he was taking revenge on Zhuoqilu and the Divine World's superpowers. Luo Guan had already woken up. However, she looked very pale. Most of the people from the Divine Craftsman sect had been moved, but there were still some people. Even if they were not beheaded, they would become demonic slaves and sink into oblivion forever. What could they do? Go back and fight old Demon Yoshing? Who could kill old Demon Yoshing? Who could break into the demon army camp? Other than defending the land of Yuyan, they could not think of any other way. Defend to the death, Pan King sighed slightly. He waved his hand and said, "Send a message to Luo Qin. Ask her to come back. The Divine World is hopeless. I think we should move a portion of the people from the land of Yuyan to the West Sea." Dong Wang suddenly said, "The land of Yuyan is now overcrowded. Many places are filled with people. If the demons sneak in and demonize them, the situation will be out of control. There are still some people from the Divine World. I think we should move them to the West Sea as well." West Sea? The pavilion master's face darkened. Although the Western Sea had many islands, they were not protected. Moreover, there were many sea beasts. If these low-level citizens went there, it would be extremely difficult for them to survive. It was estimated that half of them would die at sea. The Lord of the Hall of Life and Death also revealed a look of pity. He said, "These low-level people will not do as they please in the land of Yuyen. It would be troublesome to move them to the West Sea, and many of them would die at sea. A catastrophe is coming. No one can escape." Dong Wang said expressionlessly, "If the land of Yuyen is destroyed, everyone will die. We must have absolute control over the land of Yuyen, otherwise everyone will die. Right now, there were too many people in the land of Yuyen. It was impossible to supervise all of them. Who knew if there were spies of the demons within? You can imagine the consequences if the spies act secretly and destroy the heaven and earth divine formation." The pavilion master of the Pavilion of Heavenly Mysteries and the Hall of Life and Death's Hall Master were speechless. The North King chimed in my opinion, we should evacuate all the martial practitioners below the almighty level from the immortal world. Don't leave a single one of them alive. Otherwise, they will harm themselves and others, and we will all be killed. Evacuate all of them? This time, it was not only the Hall Master of the Hall of Life and Death and the Pavilion Master of the Pavilion of Heavenly Mysteries. Even Luo Guan and Zhuo Qilu's expressions changed. How many people had entered the immortal world? Not 100 billion, but at least tens of billions, right? If they forced all these people into the West Sea, the West Sea would become a slaughterhouse and a sea of corpses. Tens of billions of people would die in the West Sea and be eaten by the sea beast. By then, the West Sea's seawater would turn blood-red, wouldn't it? This is not very appropriate, right? Zhuo Qilu could not hold it in anymore. He knew very well that the 8 God Kings were actually worried that the martial practitioners and formidable martial practitioners from the immortal world would take over and become the masters of the immortal world. After all, the number of martial practitioners and formidable martial practitioners from the immortal world was 100 times more than that of the land of Yuyen. If not for the fact that they controlled the heaven and earth divine formation, the God Kings would not even have the right to speak now. Don't be anxious about this. I think we have to think about it at length. The Pavilion Master of the Pavilion of Heavenly Mysteries said, "The demons need some time to occupy the immortal world. They will not be able to completely occupy the immortal world without a few years. Perhaps the situation will change in these few years? We are in a hurry to relocate these people. So many of our people are dying. This is against the harmony of the world. We have to think about it at length." Think about it at length? Dong Wang snorted. Once something happens, everything will be over. 3 months at most. If the situation is not reversed in 3 months, we will have to protect ourselves first. Half a year. Pan Wang tried to smooth things over. Let's wait for half a year. If there is no hope of turning the situation around in half a year, then we will start to arrange for the relocation. All right. Zhuo Qilu and the others looked at each other and nodded helplessly. If the situation was not reversed in half a year, then the immortal world would be beyond help. They would not be able to care about the lives of the people anymore. Pan Yuqin came back, but she left behind scouts in the immortal world to monitor all the demons' actions. It was a pity that many cities were destroyed. Many branches of the Hall of Bloodblade were gone. The speed of transmitting information was much slower. Ever since Lu Li made the 2 moves, there was no more news. Pan Yuqin did not give up, but she was disappointed. Lu Li was very good at formations. Since he could not crack the formation after such a long time, it was possible that the formation could not be cracked. After Emperor Yoshing obtained the Spacetime City, he did not kill everyone, nor did he turn them into demons. Some of the people from the craftsman's sect were also left behind. They were controlled and became the demon's sole slave. Those people teleported to the demons' base camp and began to build teleportation formations for the demons. In one go, dozens of teleportation formations were built. Half a month later, the demon army moved. Groups of them teleported to the space-time city. Oh no, Zhuoqiulu's heart sank when she heard the news. Emperor Yoshing knew how to use teleportation formations. Conquering the divinity would be very fast. The space-time altar in the space-time city could teleport to any prefecture, and the speed was very fast. The demons sent out small teams and even brought along formation masters from the craftsman's sect. After conquering a prefecture, they would take the teleportation formation back to space-time city and then teleport to another prefecture. This way, the efficiency would be very high. There were many prefectures in the divinity, but so were the demons. As expected, Emperor Yoshing mobilized most of the demon army to space-time city. Only a few million demons were left to guard the Star Sand City. Even though there were only a few million demons, Zhuoqiulu and the others did not dare to move or sneak into the Star Sand City. Why? Because of the space-time altar. If Zhuoqiulu and the others showed up outside the Star Sand City, Emperor Yoshing would take the space-time altar and teleport over in less than an hour. By then, Zhuoqiulu and the others would not be able to escape. After some discussion, Zhuoqiulu and the others decided to send out some supreme warriors from the divinity with small teams to sneak into the divinity and kill small teams of demons. Chapter 17:13. In the Star Sand City, Luli stood in the plaza. Surges of divine energy surged out from his hands and into the ground. There were red lines underground. The red lines did not change after Luli poured in divine energy. Luli had been pouring divine energy in for more than 10 days. He didn't have much divine energy to begin with. After more than 10 days, he had even less. Nothing seemed to be happening after more than 10 days. The red lines remained the same. Something is not right. Something is not right. Another hour later, Luli stopped. He looked up and there was a faint red glow in his eyes. He touched his neck, which was covered in black scales. There were black scales in many other parts of his body as well. He had been outside the castle recently. His body was almost demonized. It didn't matter if his body was demonized as long as his soul could stay conscious. It didn't matter if his divine energy was used up. He could cultivate some more when he returned to the castle. Luli had poured in so much divine energy but there was no reaction, which was a pain in the ass for him. Am I on the wrong track? Luli had been in closed-door cultivation for a long time. He believed he had some understanding of the formation. Theoretically speaking, his divine energy should be effective. He had been analyzing the formation and found that there were many formations in it, such as energy gathering, expansion, space sealing, resilience, convergence, and so on. There were at least 100 spirit designs densely packed inside, which was why this spirit design was so abnormal. The formation had an energy gathering formation. Not only did it absorb the blood essence of the two 10-winged demons, but it was also absorbing energy from heaven and earth. The core of the formation was the convergence formation. According to Luli's analysis, if he poured divine energy into the formation would distribute his divine energy to the entire formation of blood demons. His divine energy would be imprinted in the formation of blood demons. In this way, it would be easier for him to change the formation patterns. But now, his train of thought was wrong. He felt it was pointless to pour in so much divine energy. He had wasted so much time. He walked into the castle. Inside, Ling Qinyan was cultivating. She opened her eyes when Luli came in. She was surprised to see the black scales on Luli's body. "Luli, have you been demonized?" she asked. "I am okay." Luli waved his hand and said, "My condition was worse than this. My soul has been sublimated. My soul will not be corrupted. Even if you stay outside for a few years, you won't become a demon slave." "That's good." Ling Qinyan let out a sigh of relief. She felt that the demonic energy inside her body had reached its peak. Even though she had been suppressing it with the elixirs from the Hall of Life and Death, she estimated that she would grow black scales in a month. Women loved to be beautiful the most. If her jade-like skin grew black scales, how ugly would she be? At that time, she would definitely not have the face to see anyone. Luli was not in the mood to pay attention to what Ling Qinyan was thinking. He sat on the ground. In his mind was that complicated and enigmatic diagram of bloodlines. He said, "Blood Fairy, we have made a mistake. I have poured divine energy into the formation for over a dozen days, but nothing happened. No effect." Blood Fairy was confused. Previously, she and Luli had tried to confirm that this formation was the core that controlled the formation of blood demons. Because this formation had the function of gathering, all the energy was channeled out from here. If this is not a formation, then is it an energy-gathering formation? Luli was deep in thought. The problem was that the energy-gathering formation was a place to store energy. The energy of the two 10-winged demons was gathered there, and it was still absorbing energy in heaven and earth. The energy in there was horrifying. Luli's divine energy was like a drop of water in the ocean. It could not make a splash. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Blood Fairy said, "Apart from the formation of gathering energy, the only other way is the energy-gathering formation. Master, if you want to affect the energy-gathering formation, you don't have enough divine energy. Unless you can gather a large amount of energy into the formation, you will not be able to affect the energy-gathering formation. How about, Master, you build some formations in the city to connect to the formation of blood demons?" No. Luli had thought about this a long time ago. He had even thought about more. For example, he could build a strong formation to fight against the formation of blood demons and cause a disturbance in the formation of blood demons. In other words, he could destroy the formation with a formation. He had studied it carefully. The formation of blood demons was strange. Without formation stones and foundations, it was hard to connect the formation with other formations. How could two spirit designs of completely different attributes be connected together? If that doesn't work, then there is nothing I can do for now. Blood Fairy did not have a human mind. It was hard for her to think. Luli had to rely on himself. He frowned. Blood Fairy's idea might not work, but it did give him some ideas. Maybe he could find a way to make the energy in the energy-gathering formation turn violent. There was too much energy in the formation. Once the energy was turned on, the formation of blood demons would be in trouble. No matter what happened, at the very least, the seal would be lifted. In that case, Luli would have a chance to escape. This is a way. It is dangerous, but it is worth a try. Luli cheered up. He began to figure out how to mess up the energy-gathering formation. If he just poured in divine energy randomly, it would only provide energy to the formation of blood demons. Not only was it useless, but it would also make the formation even stronger. I must find a way to make the divine energy aggressive. I must turn it into a rat's poop, enter the energy-gathering formation, and spoil the pot of soup. When divine power was condensed into various attacks, it would become very offensive. If it was just ordinary divine power, it would not have any offensive power. It was just pure energy. What if ordinary divine power was made to have offensive power? Thunder! Luli remembered a skill he learned in the Heaven Reverse universe. He could compress Xian energy and release it. After a while, the compressed Xian energy would burst out. Let's try. It was not difficult to compress divine energy. Luli was afraid that when the divine energy burst out, the entire formation would be destroyed. In that case, the space would collapse, and he would not be able to escape. Qinyan. He opened his eyes and said to Ling Qinyan, "I am going to try something. If something goes wrong, the space around us might collapse instantly. Of course, if it doesn't, we will have a chance to escape. What do you think?" Ling Qinyan looked into Lu Li's eyes and asked, "How confident are you?" 50-50. Lu Li gave it some thought. He was not confident. The possibility of something going wrong was high. If the space collapsed, even Lu Li himself, who was strong, would be torn apart, let alone Ling Qinyan. Okay. Ling Qinyan did not hesitate for long. She nodded and said, "If we are going to die, we will die together. We will not be lonely in the underworld. Then let's do it." Lu Li sat with his legs crossed and tried to make divine energy using the method he used to make Xian energy. This was easy. In 2 hours, he had made hundreds of divine energy. He walked out with Ling Qinyan. He used psychic power to lock onto the red line and followed it around the city. 2 hours later, he stopped at a spot and said, "This is it." Whoosh! He shot out a stream of God power, which flowed down like a waterfall. The God power poured into the red line below continuously. As the divine energy was poured in, Lu Li became nervous. Chapter 17-14. Buzzing, the red line suddenly glowed. The entire ground trembled. Lu Li's body and soul trembled. He was afraid that there would be an explosion down there. There was so much energy in there that he and Ling Qinyan would be blown to death. The red line glowed and the ground trembled. Nothing else happened. After a while, Lu Li made up his mind. He poured more divine energy into the formation. This time, he poured in most of his divine energy at once. Buzzing, the red line glowed. What happened next shocked Lu Li and Ling Qinyan. Several red lines suddenly flew out and entangled their legs at a horrifying speed. Whoosh! Lu Li and Ling Qinyan reacted quickly. They flew up and dodged the red lines. After dodging the attack of the red threads, the two of them had just flown into the air when several red threads shot down from above, piercing their heads. "Move!" Lu Li pushed Ling Qinyan away and they both flew away, barely dodging the red line's attack. They felt like they had broken into a beehive. Many red lines came out from all directions toward Lu Li and Ling Qinyan. "Oh no, I must have triggered the hidden inhibition formation of the blood demon. The formation is attacking me." Lu Li complained to himself. He was fast and his reaction was fast. He moved around in midair to dodge the red lines. Ling Qinyan, on the other hand, was suffering. She had used up all her divine energy. She cultivated some more later, but there was too much demonic energy in her which affected her soul. Naturally, her reaction was slower. Ling Qinyan screams in pain. Her calf is swept by the red thread, and a piece of flesh is cut off. If it weren't for her quick reaction, she would have lost her calf. Whoosh! Lu Li moved around in midair. While dodging the red lines, he flew toward Ling Qinyan. He could tell that Ling Qinyan's reaction was slowing down. If he didn't go and help her, she would be strangled to death. Soon, Lu Li flew over and held Ling Qinyan in his arms. But at that moment several red lines came. Lu Li could not dodge them. He had to take them with his shoulder. Hiss, hiss, a piece of flesh on his shoulder was cut off. He sucked in a breath of cold air and quickly fled downward. His eyes flickered as he tried to figure out what went wrong. Looks like the energy-gathering formation is the core that controls the entire blood demon formation. Lu Li thought about it and figured it out. He had touched the energy-gathering formation, which meant he had touched the core of the formation of blood demons, which had caused the formation to backfire. Normally, the formation would not attack the warriors inside. However, Lu Li had touched the formation, so it was the first to attack. That's right. Lu Li's eyes glowed. The more the formation backfired, the more it meant that he had struck a vital point and touched the dragon's reverse scale. The greater the reaction, the more likely it was that this was the core of the blood demon formation, the weakest point of the blood demon formation. Whoosh! As he dodged quickly, he shot out streams of God power, injecting the remaining God power into it. After the divine power was injected inside, it would explode inside, causing chaos inside the energy-gathering formation. As more and more divine energy poured in, the blood lines were getting brighter and brighter. More and more red lines were coming at Lu Li and Ling Qingyan. Ling Qingyan's face turned pale. Every time Lu Li took her to dodge, she could feel the danger. Looking at the red lines coming from all directions, she felt she could smell the breath of death. She felt Lu Li was dancing on the tip of a blade. He was not only dancing, but he was also pouring oil down, causing a raging fire. Anyone else would have stopped by now. But Lu Li was still pouring in divine energy, and he seemed to be excited. Ling Qingyan was speechless. She thought Lu Li had lost his mind. Never mind. I will die with my sweetheart. Ling Qingyan didn't think too much. After all, she would die with Lu Li and she would have company in the underworld. She would rather be free than be trapped here. What? There were millions of demons outside the city, and 5 8-winged demons were guarding. All the demons were alarmed. The city in the middle of the army was moving. They could not sense the specific situation in the city. All they could see was the glowing red light, which was quite scary. There were some human scouts outside the base camp of the demons. They noticed something was wrong from the distance. The Star Sand City was in the base camp of the demons. It was shrouded in demonic energy. Normally, people would not be able to see it, but at the moment there was a constant glowing red light in the base camp of the demons. Is Lord Lu Li coming out? Several scouts gathered together, excited. Lu Li was the backbone of the warriors in the divinity. After Lu Li was trapped, the space-time city and the city of craftsmen were breached. Many prefectures in the divinity had fallen. Emperor Yoshing had taken control of the space-time altar and was conquering the divinity quickly. Over half of the prefectures in the divinity had been conquered. If Lu Li did not come out, in a year at most, all the prefectures in the divinity would be conquered. Buzzing in the city, as Lu Li poured in more divine energy, the red lines kept glowing. More and more red lines were coming out. Lu Li and Ling Qingyan's injuries were getting worse. One of Lu Li's legs was cut off by the red line. He could not help but groan in pain. But in his eyes, he was determined. He seemed to have lost his mind. He poured out the remaining 3 streaks of divine energy in his body at once. The moment he did so, Lu Li felt the entire world was occupied by red. All the red lines were glaring. At the moment, the red lines were not moving. A surge of energy spread out. Am I going to die? Ling Qingyan's body and soul were trembling. She felt the space was trembling as if it was going to collapse and the world was going to end. She closed her eyes and put her arms around Lu Li's waist. Even if she had to die, she wanted to die with Lu Li. Okay! At this moment, Lu Li yelled. He drew a formation in the void with one hand as fast as lightning. This time, he succeeded easily. A small golden door appeared. He dashed in with Ling Qingyan in his arms. Boom, 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 boom. The moment Lu Li dashed in, the ground under the city suddenly exploded. Space collapsed and spread out, swallowing up all the demons outside. Run! In the distance, the scouts saw a red cloud expanding in the camp of the demons and swallowed them up. A surge of energy that could destroy heaven and earth spread out. They ran away in fear. But it was too late. A surge of shockwave in space swept across, leveling the mountains to the ground. The scouts were all smashed away. Chapter 17:15. Half a day later, both the demon and human scouts arrived. In fact, the demon scouts and human scouts had discovered each other, but the scouts on both sides were stunned by the scene around them and forgot to attack each other. The Star Sand City was under a mountain. To the west and north were mountains. To the south was a plain with a huge river. The mountain, the plain, and the river were gone. All that was left was a pit. The huge city was gone. The millions of demons outside the city were gone. There were several 8-winged demons among them, but they were nowhere to be seen. Along the way, the scouts on both sides saw that the place was ravaged by a horrifying gale. All the trees and plants within a radius of 3,000 miles were gone. Many areas of the ground were scraped off. It was said that scouts from more than 3,000 miles away could hear the explosion. It was not hard to imagine the devastation. The human scouts began to search the area after they finished their inspection. The demon scouts came back to their senses. They wanted to find someone alive and find out what had happened. The human scouts were lucky. They found a scout who was in a coma. He was seriously injured and dying. After he woke up, he only said one sentence before he breathed his last. Explosion, a big explosion. The Star Sand City is gone. Lord Luli is doomed. The divinity is doomed. The human scouts' hearts trembled, and they didn't dare to stay any longer. They quickly put the corpse away, then left to send word back to their superiors. The information was sent back to the King Pan City in 3 days through the intelligence system of the Hall of Bloodblade. Zhuoqiu Lu and Luoguan were disappointed to hear the news. King Pan and the others were in sorrow. King North and King East were emotionless. They left and found Pan Yuqin. As soon as they came in, King East asked, "Where is Prince Yan's jade talisman of life?" "It is not broken." Pan Yuqin was not sad. Instead, she seemed to be relieved. She bowed and said, "Lu Li's jade talisman of life is not broken either. I hope you will not tell others about this. Maybe there will be good news soon. It will not be good for the two of them if it is spread now." Okay. North King, East King, and the rest were overjoyed. They had immediately come to find Pan Yuqin because they had all been poisoned by the love poison. If the Prince of Yen died, the love poison in their bodies would be detoxified. Now that the love poison was not detoxified, they were naturally not dead. Such a terrifying explosion had occurred in Star Sand City, yet their jade seals of life had not shattered. What did this mean? It meant that the two of them had escaped. They had escaped with their lives. After some discussion, they decided to hide the news and even spread the word that Ling Qinyan and Luli were dead. This was a good thing for the two of them, and it would also make it easier for Lu Li's later actions. They also decided to hide this from Zhuoqiu Lu and the others. The fewer people who knew about this, the safer Lu Li and the others would be. After such a horrifying explosion, Lu Li and Ling Qinyan might have been seriously injured. If they were found by the demons, they might be harmed. Pan Yuqin ordered all the scouts to search the vicinity of Star Sand City. They were looking for the bodies of Lu Li and Ling Qinyan. In this way, if they found the two who were badly wounded, they could help them at once. The entire land of Yuyan was shocked by the news. Many people wept bitterly, mourning the death of Lu Li and Prince of Yen. Many people wore mourning clothes and began to mourn for the two. Maybe they were mourning for themselves in advance, for the divinity that could be destroyed at any time. Lu Li, of course, was not dead. Otherwise, his jade talisman of life would have been broken. He flew away with Ling Qinyan the day before the explosion. Unfortunately, the explosion happened too fast and the golden door was shattered. Just like last time at the Gold Sun Island, when the golden door was broken, it meant that they had failed to fly. Lu Li and Ling Qinyan were shaken out of the void. They were wounded by the twisting force of space. Lu Li was in a better state. His physical body was strong. Therefore, he only suffered moderate injuries. Ling Qinyan was miserable. His bones were exposed in many places and they were broken. If he were not a supreme warrior in the divinity, he would have been dead. Lu Li and Ling Qinyan passed out. They floated in the void like two skeletons. 5 days later, Lu Li woke up. He did not open his eyes. Instead, he used psychic power to check. Making sure that he was in the void, he was relieved. Finally, he had escaped. He had ascended to heaven. He took out some healing pellets from the wicked bead. He took 2 for himself and fed some to Ling Qinyan. Luckily, Ling Qinyan had been holding on to him. Otherwise, he would not know where they were. Both Lu Li and Ling Qinyan were physically strong. Their wounds had healed by themselves. Otherwise, they would have been dead by now if they had been bleeding. As soon as the pellets entered his body, Luli felt comfortable. He exhaled. As long as he could get out, the rest would be much easier. It would not be difficult to solve the situation in the divinity. He was not in a hurry. Yuxing wanted to unify the divinity, but it would take some time. Sharpening the axe would not delay the work of cutting firewood. Luli decided to recover first. He closed his eyes and cultivated for a while to stabilize his body. Then, he used psychic power to check on Ling Qingyan. He noticed that there were black scales on Ling Qingyan's skin. She must have been half demonized. Well, I must take her to the trials of wind and fire as soon as possible. Luli was worried. If Ling Qingyan's soul was invaded by the demonic energy, she would become a slave and nobody would be able to save her. Also, she was in a coma and her soul was the weakest. Let me heal for 3 days. 3 days later, his injuries should be mostly healed, and his broken leg should be able to grow back. By then, he could take Ling Qingyan to the trials of wind and fire and burn away the demonic energy in them. Then, he could deal with Yuxing. He fed Ling Qingyan a few more healing pills, then sat in the void and began to cultivate. He had consumed too much divine energy. Now, he could not even return to his peak state. 3 days passed by quickly. Ling Qingyan was still in a coma. Apart from her face, her entire body was covered in black scales. Luli was not much better. It was just that his soul was conscious. Let's go. Luli put Ling Qingyan into the wicked bead and flew into the distance. 2 days later, he found a weak spot in space. He checked and then dashed in like an arrow. Buzzing, Luli saw a glare, and then he found himself in an abyss shrouded in mist. There were some powerful wild beasts in the abyss. For Luli, he was not even afraid of king-rank wild beasts, not to mention the several supreme ones here. He released his qi and energy to suppress the wild beasts and flew up from the abyss. Soon, he reached the sky. Looking at the blue sky and the green hills and clear waters, he felt he had been reborn. Chapter 1716. Luli appeared in a prefecture at the center of the divinity, which had been occupied by demons. Luli checked around and found that the cities and tribes were filled with demons and Asmodeans. He went around and found no human scouts. He didn't bother to search anymore. Luli flew up to the sky. Ling Qingyan could be demonized at any time. He had to get rid of the demonic energy in her first. Thousands of miles up, Luli came to the heavens tribulation again. Looking at the blue clouds in the sky, Luli was hesitating. This was his second time here. Would it be the second heavens tribulation? If it were the second heavens tribulation, Luli would not be able to make it. He had just passed the first heavens tribulation and now he could go through the second one? Nobody in the world could be so powerful. Buzzing, he let Ling Qingyan out. Her external wounds were much better, but her internal injuries were still serious. It would take time for her to recover. The demonic energy in her was especially strong. There seemed to be demonic energy in her soul as well. She could be demonized at any time. Luli tried many ways but Ling Qingyan could not wake up. He made up his mind and went into the tribulation of wind and fire. As soon as he went in, Luli felt something was different. It was still the same blue clouds but the temperature was twice as high. Ah! Ling Qingyan screamed in pain. She woke up all of a sudden and screamed in pain. She looked around in fear. It was the tribulation of wind and fire. She yelled, "Luli, are you out of your mind? Why are you here? We have to burn away the demonic energy in us. We have to come here." Luli explained with a bitter smile, "Your soul is about to be demonized. If you don't come here, you will become a demon slave. Don't move." Ling Qingyan groaned in pain again and said, "The second time you go into the heavens tribulation, the power will be much stronger. The higher you go, the more horrifying it will be. If you go into the tribulation of lightning, the power will be 5 times or even 10 times stronger. We will stay here. Okay, I won't move. The flames here were horrifying enough to burn away the demonic energy. Luli said with a smile, heal yourself. You are badly injured. Alright. Ling Qinyan took some healing pellets and sat down to tend to his wounds. Luli sat in the void to cultivate divine energy as well. He needed to raise his battle prowess to its peak. Only then would he be able to fight old devil Yuxing. It took the fire half a month to burn away the qi and energy of the demon in Luli and Ling Qingyan's bodies. That being said, there were less black scales on their bodies. Qingyan, you stay here. You're too slow. I'll go up. Luli said something to Ling Qinyan after some thoughts. His body was strong so the flames couldn't burn him to death. What was more, the flames could strengthen his body. Just like a piece of iron, the more it was refined, the stronger it became. Ling Qinyan knew that Luli was strong so he didn't say anything. He just watched Luli leave. Her wounds were much better now. She was at peace. Since Luli could bring her out, then everything would be fine. Luli flew up slowly. Even though the temperature of the fire had increased, it was not a problem for his strong body. All he felt was the burning pain. In the heavens' tribulation, his ability to endure pain had been greatly improved. Naturally, he would be fine. Above the test of wind and fire, Luli felt the qi and energy of the demon was being burned away twice as fast. But he still didn't think it was fast enough. It would take him another month to burn away all the qi and energy of the demon. Should I go to the thunder tribulation? Luli was eager to try. How much more powerful would the thunderbolts in the thunder tribulation be? For him, this was not a problem. Instead, he could store more and more energy in his body and his body would be stronger. But could the thunderbolts melt away the qi and energy of the demon? Let's see, Luli could come down at once if it didn't work out. He rushed out of the test of wind and fire and into the thunder tribulation. Boom, 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 as soon as he went up, dozens of thunderbolts struck down. Not only were the thunderbolts more powerful, but the number of thunderbolts had increased as well. Luli stood still. The formation in his body was activated automatically, absorbing and transforming all the thunderbolts and injecting them into his 720 acupoints. It is working and it is efficient. Luli's eyes glowed. When the thunderbolts passed through his body, they could melt away the qi and energy of the demon. The speed was faster than the test of wind and fire. Ha ha ha, this is good. In the test of wind and fire, Luli had to endure the burning of fire. The pain was bearable, but Luli did not have the tendency to torture himself. In the thunder tribulation, not only could he improve his body, but he could also get rid of the qi and energy of the demon. He could cultivate in peace. 3 birds with 1 stone. Little White. Luli let Little White out. It was still sleeping. When it woke up and saw Luli, it flew over and licked Luli's face. Let's cultivate together. Luli grinned. Little White was immune to Thunderbolt. Staying in the Thunderbolts meant that it was cultivating all the time. Little White's body was improving rapidly. Squeak, squeak, Little White flew around nearby, triggering many thunderbolts. Luli took out the mountain and sat inside to cultivate divine energy. Little White was bored after staying in the wicked bead for such a long time. It flew around happily and only came back after half a day. In merely half a month, the qi and energy of the demon were all removed from Luli's body. Most of the divine energy in his body had been recovered. He decided not to go down right away. Instead, he wanted to stay for another month. For one thing, Ling Qingyan's demonic energy would not be destroyed so soon. For another, Luli wanted to strengthen his body so that he would be more confident in dealing with Yuxing. This time, Luli did not want any accidents to happen. He wanted to win in one go. Luli did not know what was going on in the divinity. However, it had only been a while. Of the 4 ten-winged demons, only Yu Xing was still alive. Zhuqiu Lu and the others were not useless either. They should be able to hold on for some time. Lu Li continued to cultivate. A month later, his divine energy was fully replenished. He was at the peak of his strength. Even though the 720 acupoints in his body were far from being filled with thunderbolts, he felt his body had improved. Let's go. Lu Li could not waste any more time. He put away the mountain and Little White and flew down like a mad dragon. Soon, he found Ling Qinyan. The qi and energy of the demon were almost gone. Naturally, Ling Qinyan's wounds were healed. Let's go. Ling Qinyan opened his eyes at once when he saw Lu Li coming. His eyes were filled with excitement. They left the trials of wind and fire and flew down. Finally, I am back. It feels so good. Chapter 17:17. The situation in the divine world wasn't looking good. After Great Emperor Yoshing took control of the spacetime altar, his attack speed increased. He split his army into 50 teams and sent them to the various prefectures through teleportation formations. There were almost no people left in the cities of the divine world, except for a few stubborn old men who didn't want to leave their homes. Every army had an 8-winged demon, so attacking cities was too easy. More than half of the prefectures in the divine world had fallen. The remaining martial artists, as well as the soldiers and martial artists who couldn't leave in time, were all demonized. The divine world was about to change hands. It wasn't that Zhuqiu Lu and the others didn't do anything. They sent out many teams of Supremes to obstruct the advance of the demon army and devour them. In the beginning, the effect was good. Under their sneak attacks, many of the demon troops were defeated, and many of them were killed. But later, Great Emperor Yoshing reacted quickly. He formed a mobile squad of 8-winged demons. As soon as there was a military situation, this mobile squad would immediately head over. If the situation was dangerous, he would personally go over. With the spacetime altar, Great Emperor Yoshing could go anywhere he wanted, and he could move very quickly. Great Emperor Yoshing attacked 3 times, and each time, a celestial world paragon was killed. Even though the celestial world paragons had made many preparations before the battle, the speed of the brain and Great Emperor Yoshing was simply too fast. Once they were locked onto, there was basically no escape. Up to this day, the humans had killed several million devils, but 13 God Worlds paragons had died. Hundreds of Divine World super experts had died. In comparison, the humans had suffered a great loss. There were only so many Supremes left in the Divine World. No one dared to come and die. If there was a meaning to their deaths, many would disregard their own safety. But their deaths were worthless. Killing some low-level demons was meaningless. They were all flesh and blood, and no one wanted to die. Great Hua Prefecture. A demon army had just been mobilized. Because a large family had stayed here, there were more experts and troop. Thus, Great Emperor Yoshing had mobilized 2 million demons, led by 2 8-winged demons. The 2 million demons rampaged through the prefectures and quickly conquered them. Now, only Great Hua Prefecture was left. The evil demon army gathered from all directions and surrounded Dehua City. They immediately started to attack the city. This city's protective shield was quite strong. This prefecture was controlled by a large hidden family. Normally, this family would not reveal their true strength, but when it came to the moment of life and death, many of their trump cards would finally be revealed. When they were invisible, regular demon scouts would not be able to see them. The 2 of them circled around the city a few times. After they had more or less investigated the situation, they found a few human scouts in a mountain, and they were top-notch scouts. Buzzing, the city would not fall so soon, so Lu Li was not in a hurry. He and Ling Qinyan showed up. The 2 top scouts were scared. They took out their weapons at once and were ready to attack. The two scouts were shocked to see Lu Li and Ling Qinyan. Then, they dropped to their knees in joy and said, "Lord Lu, Prince of Yan." Lu Li and Ling Qinyan looked at each other and relaxed. Clearly, the two scouts were under Pan Yuqin's control. They knew a lot of information. Lu Li and Ling Qinyan could learn about the current situation through them. "Stand up and talk." Lu Li waved his hand. His first question went straight to the point. How many territories in the divinity have fallen? How many supreme warriors are there in the divinity? The two scouts looked at each other. One of them answered, "Most prefectures in the divinity have fallen. There are about 50 or 60 supreme warriors in the divinity, including those at the Yuyan land. All of them are at the Yuyan land." "Tell me about the divinity in detail," Lu Li asked. The two scouts took turns to report. They didn't stop until an hour later. Lu Li and Ling Qinyan were relieved. The situation in the divinity was grim, but at least it was not destroyed. The humans at the Yuyan land were still alive. At least, they could still be saved. But even so, the invasion of the demons had greatly damaged the vitality of the divine world. At least half of the martial artists had died, and more than half of the powerhouses had died. It was likely that it would take tens of thousands of years for the divine world to recover to its peak. "Charge." Lu Li was confident. He took out the cold blade and was ready to take action. This time, he wanted to kill all the demons and weaken the demon world so that it would not be able to invade the divinity for hundreds of thousands of years. What was more? Chapter 17-18. The civilians in the city must be saved. Therefore they had to fight. Since they were going to fight, the information could not be leaked. Therefore Lu Li planned to wipe out all the demons. It was just 2 million demons. For Lu Li it was a piece of cake. "Qinyan, I will be the main attacker. You stay on the periphery," Lu Li ordered. "Make sure that not a single demon escapes. Go and gather the nearby scouts. If any demons escape, just follow them and leave a mark. I want to make sure that all the demons die here." "Yes." The two scouts cheered up. Lu Li's actions were different. He was not like the other divinities' warriors who would kill all the enemies as soon as they arrived. One had to know that there were 2 million demons here, and there were even 2 8-winged demons. "Go. I will take care of the rest." Ling Qinyan nodded with confidence. Coordinating from the periphery was not a big deal for her. After all, she was an overlord of the land of Yuyan. She had many tricks up her sleeves. She did not rely on her beauty to climb to the top. Otherwise, she would not be a virgin. Starting in an hour, stay within a radius of 3,000 miles. Lu Li waved his hand and snuck away. Ling Qinyan and the two scouts went their separate ways as well. The scouts went to gather the scouts nearby. Ling Qinyan began to wander around. She made some arrangements and cleared out the demon scouts. Lu Li found a cave and went directly underground. He went more than 3,000 miles below the ground so that he could not detect the demon's presence. He let out more worms of the void, including the ones in the wicked bead. There were 10 billion of them. He did not control the worms of the void to swarm up at once. Instead, he divided the worms of the void into 5 groups. 5 billion were in the middle and the other 5 billion were divided into 4 groups to the east, west, south, and north. After the worms of the void had flown for 3,000 miles, Lu Li told them to stop. He waited quietly. An hour later, he gave an order to the mother worm, "Attack. Go up and devour all the living beings. Worms of the void from all sides are gathering here." Whoosh, the 10 billion worms of the void set off at the same time and swarmed upward. When the worms of the void came up, they gathered toward the city and began to make dumplings. Boom, 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 the evil demon army above was still attacking. With 2 8-winged evil demons personally taking action, the energy of the city's barrier was quickly being consumed. All the martial artists in the city unsheathed their weapons. The old city lord led 1 million experts to stand in the public square. The old city lord was very old, but his aura was terrifying. Clearly, he was a paragon of the divine world. Beside the old city lord, there was a row of immortal world's super almighties, a total of 30 of them. Although these 30 people weren't all from the old city lord's family, it could be seen how deep this family's foundation was. They were probably even stronger than ordinary divine sect. The most eye-catching people in the square were a young man and a young woman. Under normal circumstances, the elite disciples of the family would have long been transferred. However, the two of them were still in the city. Their life force auras were very young, but their cultivation bases were actually super almighty experts of the god world. The man was extraordinarily handsome and carried a heavy sword in his hand. His eyebrows were like swords and his eyes were like stars. His extraordinary bearing made many men in the city feel inferior. The woman beside the man had an even more heroic bearing. She wore a silver soft armor and had a silver cloak on her back. She held a beautiful cyan longsword in her hand. Her face was filled with unswerving determination and heroic spirit. However, it didn't make people feel that she was androgynous. At this moment, she had a special charm of a woman. The old city lord glanced at the barrier above his head. His expression became solemn. Looking at the young man and woman, he said, "When the battle starts, you must leave immediately and go to Yuyan Pass. This is an order you must not disobey." The young man and woman turned their heads. Both of them were silent. The old man revealed an angry expression and said, "Are you two not going to listen to my orders? Do you want me to expel you two from the family?" "Grandpa." The young man cupped his hands and said, "Since we have chosen to come back, we definitely won't leave. Let our grandchildren accompany you to fight to the end." The young woman had a resolute expression and said, "Grandpa, the result will be the same no matter if we go to Yuyan Pass. Our Ning family has protected the Great Hua residence for hundreds of thousands of years. Now that the enemy is right in front of us, how can we escape? Didn't you say that the Ning family will only have those who die in battle, and not those who run away?" "Foolish!" The old man was so angry that he coughed continuously. It was difficult for him to breathe, but the young man and woman continued to bow, not having the slightest intention of retreating. The old man shook his head powerlessly, waving his hand. "Then we will fight to the death. If you want to take over the Great Hua residence, then you must first step over the corpses of the Ning family. Kill, kill, kill!" Countless people in the city roared. Everyone's killing intent had reached its peak. Generation after generation of the Ning family had used their blood to protect the Great Hua residence. They had lived here for hundreds of thousands of years. This was their root. Without their root, they would rather die. Chi. At this moment, there was suddenly the sound of something piercing through the air. Then, countless demons began screaming in fear. Many demons were still rolling in the air, their faces filled with shock and despair. "Insect demon, the insect demon is here. So many insects have entered my body, I'm going to die. Save me, great emperor! Run, run, the insect demon is here. If we don't run, we will all die." Many angry shouts, and miserable cries were heard. It was a mess outside. The orderly formation of the demon army was disrupted. Many demons fled to all directions in fear. What is going on?" the young man in the city shouted. The city was in a mess as well, as if it was a wet market. Warriors in the city were ready to go all out and fight. Little did they know that before they could go out, the demon army had fallen into disarray, and they were defeated so easily. Insect demon? The beautiful lady in the silver cloak's eyes glowed. Her cheeks were blushing. She looked at the old man with excitement and said, "Grandpa, it is Luli. Luli is here to save us." "What are you shouting about? It's Lord Lu who has no manners." The elder's body trembled slightly. His tiger-like eyes glistened with tears. He knew very well that in the upcoming battle, everyone in the Ning family would die. As a matter of fact, he was regretting leaving so many powerful warriors of the Ning family behind. The tables had turned and the Ning family was going to be saved. How could he stay calm? Get ready. Activate the shield and attack. Help Lord Lu to kill the demons. The old family patriarch raised his hand and shouted. Lu Li was here to save them. How could they be afraid of death? There were more than 1 million people in the city and many of them were powerful warriors. The demon army was on the run. It was possible that the demon army could be wiped out in pursuit. Don't move. A deep and magnetic male voice suddenly came from the city. You will only add to the trouble if you come out. Stay in the city. I, Lu Li, can kill 2 million demons all by myself. Lu Li's words were emotionless, which was harsh to the ears. After all, there were so many powerful warriors in the city. How could he say they were a burden? That being said, nobody in the city dared to move. No one dared to complain or be dissatisfied because it was Lu Li. How impressive! The lady in the white cloak was not angry. Instead, her eyes were filled with admiration. She looked around, trying to find the legendary figure. Chapter 17-19. Lu Li did not show up. The result would be the same whether he showed up or not. The demon army was routed as soon as they saw the worms of the void. Many powerful demons fled to the distance without hesitation, including the 2 8-winged demons. The high-level demons knew that Lu Li was trapped in the Star Sand City. There was a formation of blood demons in the Star Sand City. Not long ago, the formation of blood demons exploded, killing millions of demons. Not even the formation of blood demons could trap Lu Li. Not even such a horrifying explosion could kill Lu Li. Not even Emperor Yoxing could do anything to Lu Li. Were they going to stay here and wait for death? 5 billion worms of the void surged forward. 5 billion against 2 million. If the demons didn't run, they would be eaten up soon. But many demons reacted quickly. They ran away as soon as they saw the worms of the void. Therefore, only hundreds of thousands of demons were attacked. More than 1 million evil demons scattered in all directions. Hundreds of thousands of them fled in each direction. Their faces were filled with fear, and they had no will to fight. All they wanted to do was run as fast as they could and get as far away from the insect demons as possible. Whoosh, however, they had just run for several miles when a dark mass of worms of the void whooshed over. They covered up the sky and covered an area with a radius of hundreds of miles. There was no end to them. Ah, they are dead. The insect demon is so cruel. There is an ambush. We cannot run. The worms of the void are too fast. We cannot run away. Kill, kill. We must kill the insect demon even if we have to die. The demons were in despair. They were too slow and there were too many worms of the void. They could not run away. Some demons even turned around and ran back, hoping to find Lu Li and fight to the death. Whoosh, the 2 8-winged demons were fast. They rolled their eyes and flew close to the ground. Their bodies flickered, hoping to get past the worms of the void and escape. Swish, a startling ray of light lit up the horizon. The saber light turned in midair once, twice, thrice, and finally heavily struck an 8-winged demon's body. The 8-winged demon could not move. It could only watch as the ray of sword light came at it. Bang! The 8-winged demon was smashed into pieces. Nothing was left, let alone a corpse. A mountain behind the 8-winged demon was split open. A bottomless abyss appeared on the ground. Insect demon Lu Li. Countless demons locked onto a figure in the distance. That person was dressed in a green robe, and his movements were elegant. Behind him were countless void worms. He held a saber in his hand and waved it casually. Every time he waved it, a blood-red saber light would fly out, and hundreds of demons would be cleaved in half by the green light. Shadi? No. Insect demon. A 6-winged demon cried out in fright. This scene reminded him of the scenes that had been passed down from the demon realm. That scene was exactly the same as Lu Li's. Back then, Sha Di had slaughtered the evil demons along the way with ease. He had destroyed the evil demon army and killed the evil demon experts, driving many evil demons back to the Demon Sea area. God is not blessing our evil demon clan. There was a Sha Di 500,000 years ago, and now there is an insect demon. Will our evil demon clan be trapped in the evil demon realm forever? A six-winged demon roared in sorrow. Countless experts on the city walls saw this scene and felt their blood boil. 500,000 years ago, the demon army almost wiped out the divinity. In the end, the Sha Di emerged and swept across the evil demon realm all by himself. Now, history had been reversed. Just like the Sha Di, Lu Li defeated the demons and protected the divinity all by himself. This is a hero, a real man. He can cover the sky with one hand and kill demons with a flick of his fingers. You should marry a man like this. The white-robed girl Yuer's eyes were filled with admiration. She was the most important young lady of the Ning family. She had been talented since she was a child. She looked down on young men in the world because she believed that many young men were not as good as her. Today, her impression of young men had changed. Lu Li's graceful figure, his calm face, his eyes as profound as the stars, his spirit that could kill tens of thousands of demons with a wave of his hand, and his power that could strike fear into the hearts of all demons as soon as he appeared, everything about him made her feel intoxicated. She felt that if she could be embraced by a man like this, that would be the happiest thing in the world. Swish, Lu Li released the Sha's ghost cut again. Another 8-winged demon that tried to run away was killed. The Sha's ghost cut was a combination of the Sha's move and ghost cut. Even the 10-winged demon, Yu Wang, could be killed easily, not to mention the 8-winged demon. The worms of the void came from all sides. They snuck into the bodies of the demons and began to eat their heads. Many demons fell to the ground with their heads in their hands and then became headless corpses. 10 billion worms of the void surrounded 2 million demons. Lu Li wandered around the city and killed the powerful ones. The powerful ones were fast and could run away easily. There were too many worms of the void, and it was difficult to manage them. They could only carry out orders mechanically. Even though Lu Li's plan was sound, some of the 6-winged demons still managed to escape. Ling Qinyan was hunting on the periphery. To be on the safe side, Lu Li glanced over and said to the city, "All the super mighty warriors in the city, go and hunt down the demons that are running away. Do not let any of them go." Yes. For the warriors in the city, Lu Li's order was like an imperial edict. The shield in the city was opened. Dozens rushed out. Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Go to the sky and hunt on the periphery. Don't worry about here or you will be killed by the worms of the void." Yes. The family patriarch flew up with dozens of warriors. Lu Li controlled the worms of the void to clear a path. At the same time, he killed some demons that were chasing after them. The outcome was determined. More than half of the demons had been eaten. Not many of the remaining ones could escape. Given the speed of the worms of the void, they could all be killed. The only thing that mattered now was how many powerful demons had escaped. If one escaped, Lu Li's identity would be exposed. That being said, it didn't matter. Lu Li was not afraid. It was just that he couldn't sneak up on Yoshing. Lu Li wandered around and killed powerful demons. He didn't even have to release the Sha's ghost cut. He could kill the 6-winged demons with the Slayer's move. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, the area outside the Dehua city had turned into hell. Bodies of demons were everywhere. Their heads were either bitten off or hacked to death by Lu Li. Almost all of the 2 million demons had been killed. Lu Li didn't go after them. He stood on a hill outside the city. Bodies of demons were everywhere. Blood tainted the ground red. But Lu Li's cyan robe was untainted. People in the city looked at Lu Li from the distance. They didn't think he was an otherworldly immortal. Instead, they thought he was a god of slaughter from hell. Whoosh, 2 hours later, the city master of the Dehua city came back. He knelt in front of Lu Li with a group of warriors and said, "Lord Lu, we have finished the hunt and have come back to report. I think we have killed all the demons that escaped." "I think?" Lu Li frowned but said nothing. He just waved his hand and told them to stand up. Lu Li continued to wait. After an hour, a beautiful girl flew over from the distance. She looked at Lu Li and nodded. "Okay." Chapter 1720. If Ling Qingyan said it was okay, then it must be okay. What was more, there were still some scouts out there. They would report back as soon as something happened. Lu Li decided to be careful. He looked at the old city owner and said, "Send someone to search within a radius of 300,000 miles. Also, arrange for everyone to leave the Great Hua City." "Leave?" The old city owner was confused. "Lord, didn't you kill all the demons? Why do you want to leave?" Lu Li didn't explain. Ling Qingyan smiled and said, "The powerful warriors of the devil will be here soon. Lord Lu can suppress them, but once you start a fight with the powerful warriors of the devil, many people in the city will be hurt." As Ling Qingyan said, he flew over and stood behind Lu Li in a well-behaved manner. The man was handsome and the woman was enchanting. They looked like a couple made in heaven. Ling Qingyan was so beautiful that many men would look at her with passion. But since she was standing behind Lu Li, nobody dared to have any dirty thoughts. Many people looked at Ling Qingyan and wondered if she was Lu Li's woman. Only Lu Li could have a woman like her. Also, Ling Qingyan was a supreme warrior in the divinity. Who dared to blaspheme her? Alas, Ning Yuer sighed. Her eyes dimmed. She had always thought of herself as a talented girl. But compared to Ling Qingyan, she still felt inferior. Ling Qingyan was so beautiful. She was like a graceful peony that could outshine all the other flowers. Brother 6, arrange for people in the city to evacuate. The old city owner waved his hand and ordered, "Spread out and search an area with a radius of 300,000 miles. Search for demons." Also, Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Send someone to gather all the bodies of the demons and burn them. Don't leave anything behind." Okay. The old city owner decided to stay and asked others to search. He and a super mighty warrior from the divinity arranged for people to evacuate and people to deal with the bodies of the demons. They had to deal with the bodies for 2 reasons. For one, they were afraid of a plague. For another, since all the demons had been killed, they must find a way to hide the news and leave no trace. At the very least, Yu Xing couldn't be sure that Lu Li had come back safely. If they could hide in the dark, they could make a surprise attack. The people in the city got busy and quickly left. When groups of people left, they would occasionally glance at the small mountain. Some even dropped to their knees. As far as they were concerned, Lu Li had not only saved their lives but also brought hope to the divinity. Without Lu Li, the divinity would be hopeless. Lu Li and Ling Qingyan waited quietly. Before the demons were killed, they might have used some special methods to alert the powerful demons in the space-time city. Old Devil Yoshing had mobilized many 8-winged demons as a mobile force. Once the other side received the news, there should be 8-winged demons coming over. Old Devil Yoshing might even come over personally. No matter how many 8-winged demons there were, Lu Li would not be afraid. Even if Yu Xing came in person, Lu Li would not be afraid. He just wanted to have a battle to the death with him earlier. Lu Li waited quietly. Logically speaking, if there were 8-winged demons on standby in the space-time city, it wouldn't take long for those 8-winged demons to arrive. The people in the city moved very quickly. The old city lord had said that they couldn't bring anything. Warriors brought the old, the weak, the women and the children out of the city and rushed toward the mountain in the north. Time moved on. Nothing happened, which surprised Lu Li and Ling Qingyan. Could it be that the eight-winged demon's mobile force was being mobilized so they couldn't be teleported over so soon? But old Devil Yoshing must be in the space-time city. He should have come in person. Whoosh! Another hour later, a team rushed over from the distance. One of them shouted in panic, "Lord Lu, there are more than a dozen eight-winged demons over there. They are coming this way." More than a dozen eight-winged demons? Lu Li raised his eyebrows. Without any hesitation, he and Ling Qinyan flew over like a bolt of lightning. They were about the same speed. They were so fast that the super mighty warriors in the divinity didn't see them clearly. All they saw was two blurs of light, and then they disappeared into the distance. Whoosh! They hurried over. There were powerful warriors of the Dahua city over there. Their young masters and young ladies were over there. If they all died, it would be a great loss for the Ning family. Lu Li and Ling Qinyan were so fast that in the time for a few breaths, they had covered thousands of miles. They also noticed the dark fog in the distance. Clearly, there were many demons. They checked with psychic power. 5 humans were trapped and all of them were badly injured. A group of demons were surrounding them, probably to interrogate them. You go and distract them. Lu Li waved his hand to Ling Qinyan. Ling Qinyan understood immediately. If the two of them flew over together, the 5 would be killed in an instant. Ling Qinyan would distract the demons while Lu Li would save the humans secretly. As long as they could save the humans, the more than a dozen eight-winged demons wouldn't be a problem for Lu Li. Ling Qinyan kept moving forward while Lu Li sneaked down and took a detour to the left. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! As soon as Ling Qinyan showed up, he attracted the attention of all the demons. They had planned to demonize the 5 humans and gather some information. Now that a supreme warrior from the divinity had come and there were noises coming from the distance, it was only natural for them to fight first. More than a dozen demons rushed over, leaving only 2 to continue to demonize the 5 down there. The 5 were from the Ning family. The young masters and young ladies of the Ning family were all here. But the 2 were in a miserable state. Not only were they badly injured, but they were also affected by the demonic energy. They could be demonized at any time. When the 5 of them saw Ling Qinyan flying over, their faces lit up. Ling Qinyan was here, which meant that Lu Li was here as well. They could be saved. Ning Yuer looked around. Her blood-covered face was a bit shy. Her robe was torn in many places, revealing a large area of her skin. Her clothes were ragged and her hair was messy. She thought it would be shameful for Lu Li to see her ugly appearance. Buzzing, while Ning Yuer's mind was wandering, a swarm of worms of the void suddenly flew out from the ground next to them, which startled the 2 eight-winged demons. Bang! The ground next to them suddenly exploded. A man flew out and put the 5 of them into the wicked bead. Then, a ray of sword light shot toward the 2 eight-winged demons. Lu Li. The 2 eight-winged demons had noticed Lu Li the moment he dashed out. They trembled in fear. Though they had suspected that it was Lu Li who did this, they still felt fear from the depth of their souls when they saw Lu Li. Run! Without much hesitation, the 2 fled to the distance at once. Not even Yu Xing could kill Lu Li and the blood demons could not trap Lu Li. How could they kill Lu Li? You think you can run? Chapter 1721. He killed an 8-winged demon with one move. Lu Li's ferocity frightened all the other 8-winged demons. To them, Lu Li was already an invincible being. Now, they were scared out of their wit. Before they came, Emperor Yoshing had told them that this was the most serious warning. If they encountered powerful enemies, they should run away at once instead of fighting to the death. Before every army set off, Emperor Yoshing would give them special instructions. There were 2 types of warnings, the regular ones and the advanced ones. The regular warning meant that the demons were ambushed by supreme warriors from the divinity of the land of Yuyan. The advanced warning meant that they had encountered super-powerful warriors from the divinity, such as Lord Xianyuan or Lu Li. Most of the demons suspected that Lu Li was dead. But Emperor Yoshing believed that Lu Li had survived. Why? Because the formation of blood demons had exploded. The formation of blood demons was a horrifying one. When it was turned into a formation of death, there was no way he could escape and he would be trapped. The formation of blood demons would not explode for no reason, which meant that Lu Li must have done something. If Lu Li could destroy the formation, then he would have a chance to escape. Emperor Yoshing and the 8-winged demons all suspected that it was Lu Li who had come out with the highest level of warning. After all, Lord Xianyuan hadn't shown up for a long time. He must not be coming back. As for why Emperor Yoshing didn't come this time, it was because he wanted the demons to explore the way and find out the situation. If it really was Lu Li, then Emperor Yoshing could make some arrangements. He wouldn't have to face Lu Li without preparation. Yuang was killed by Lu Li. This made Emperor Yoshing worried. Therefore, when the 8-winged demons realized that it was Lu Li, they fled to all directions without any hesitation. Once again, Lu Li used the Ghost Slayer to kill an 8-winged demon. By then, the other demons had fled in all directions. Whoosh! Lu Li picked a random direction. There were 5 8-winged demons there and Ling Qinyan was fighting against 2 of them as well. However, she only entangled one 8-winged demon. The other 8-winged demon didn't surround and attack her. Instead, it quickly flew away. 2 hours later, Lu Li came back. Ling Qinyan's fight had ended. One demon was killed by Ling Qinyan. Lu Li had been chasing after them for 2 hours, but he only managed to kill 3 8-winged demons. The rest had all escaped. With Lu Li's speed, he could continue to chase and kill another 2 or 3 demons. However, Lu Li didn't go after him because there was no point in doing so. This group of evil demons had already guessed that it might be him. Now that so many 8-winged evil demons had escaped, there was no way to hide his identity anymore. Since he had been exposed, he might as well start a war openly and destroy the demon army bit by bit. Let's return. Lu Li waved his hand and walked towards the Great Hua City with Ling Qinyan. Powerful warriors of the Ning family were waiting nearby. They were overjoyed to see Lu Li and the others coming back. Ningyue and the others' jade talismans of life were still intact, which meant that Lu Li had saved them. Lu Li didn't say much. He led the group back to the Dahua city. The wicked bead glowed as Lu Li let them out. They were all badly injured. But Ningyue had put on a new robe. She tidied up her hair and washed her face. She didn't even care about her injuries. She put on the robe and tidied up her appearance. Women really valued their looks more than their lives. Let's take them to tend to their wounds first. Lu Li waved his hand and asked Ling Qinyan to give them some pellets that could dispel the demon energy. He ignored Ningyue's shyness. He could tell that the girl was looking at him with passion. Ningyue was not only beautiful but also special. She stood out like a crane among a flock of chickens. That being said, Lu Li didn't feel anything. He didn't want to get involved with any girls and he wasn't in the mood for romance. The divinity was full of beautiful girls. Given his current reputation and status, if he wanted a girl, many young ladies from families, big or small, would send themselves to his door. That was the reality of the world. When one was not capable, many beautiful young ladies wouldn't even look at him. But when one was capable, many young ladies would swarm to him, begging him to be pampered. Beautiful girls were a scarce resource. They were superior to others. Every day they would be surrounded by men. Naturally, they would not be interested in mediocre men. If you wanted to gain their favor, you had to stand out from the masses. Of course, one could not say that women were realistic. Women had stunning looks, which in itself was a form of strength. If one did not have the same level of strength, how could those beautiful girls lower themselves to you? If one did not have certain qualities, how could they treat him differently? Lu Li was not a pervert, nor was he a man who would want pretty girls whenever he saw one. He would never accept a girl without any emotional foundation. Ling Qingyan's case was an accident. He was affected by the demon energy, which weakened his resistance to beauty. What was more, Ling Qingyan was so beautiful that she could move the hearts of all men. Seeing that Lu Li didn't even look at her, Ning Yu-er's expression turned gloomy. She was also ashamed. She was the most beautiful young lady of the Ning family, a famous beauty on the list of most beautiful women. Which young master wouldn't be smitten by her? How come Lu Li didn't even look at her? Take Rui and Yue to tend to their wounds. Lord Lu waved his hand and reported, Lord Lu, the city has been relocated. What do you need us to do next? No need. Lu Li sat in the main seat with Ling Qingyan next to him. Lu Li waved his hand and said, My identity has been exposed. Powerful demons will not come to the Great Hua Mansion any time soon. You are safe here. Send someone to bring back the scouts outside. I need to make arrangements for the rest of the matter. Lord Lu sent someone to look for them. Ling Qingyan asked after some thoughts, Lu Li, what do you plan to do next? Nothing. A glint of killing intent rose in Lu Li's eyes. When Yu Qin sends us the information, we will take back the lost lands one by one and kill the demons. Eventually, we will go to the City of Time and kill Yu Xing. Lu Li's words were filled with confidence. The warriors in the castle were cheered up. They looked at each other, excited. Lord Lu was glowing as if he was hundreds of years younger. After a while, the scouts came in. Lu Li waved his hand and said, Send a message back. Tell me that I am back. Also, tell Pan Yuqin to send out all the scouts. I need to have all the information in the divinity. Also, tell Yu Xing that if he is sensible, he should go back to the world of demons, or else I will make them all stay in the divinity. Also, Lu Li added after some thoughts, tell all the supreme warriors in the divinity of the Yuyan land to gather at the Great Hua City, apart from the ones that must stay behind. We will fight back with me, take back the lost lands and wipe out the demons. Yes. The scouts all left. Lu Li looked at the old city master and said, You go and gather some scouts as well. Let's have a look at the situation nearby. Let's find out the situation first and then make a plan. Yes. The old city lord and the others all cupped their hands and retreated. Everyone was in high spirits, no longer feeling depressed and lost. Chapter 1722. Soon, the news spread out. It was hard not to. Lu Li showed up at the mansion of Hua. As soon as he came out, he destroyed 2 million demons and killed nearly 10 eight-winged demons. Lu Li also told Emperor Yoxing to go back to the realm of demons, or all the demons would have to stay in the divinity. Many people shed tears of joy when the news spread out. Many people kowtowed to Lu Li's statue day and night. Those who had been through despair saw hope again. This was touching. This time, the people in the divinity had experienced despair several times. In the hall of Lord Pan, Qi Shir could not stop crying. She had been crying every day. She could no longer hide the news about Lu Li. Even though Pan Yuqin told her to keep it from Qi Shir, she failed. I want to see my brother. Qi Shir found Pan Yuqin and said with determination. She no longer wanted to live in fear and longing for him day and night. She wanted to be with Lu Li, even if it meant death. Sister, don't worry. Come and sit. Pan Yuqin pulled Qi Shir over and patted her hair with a smile. Pan Yuqin used to be jealous of Qi Shir. But after spending some time with her, she grew to like this pure and kind girl with many wonderful qualities. Instead of being jealous, she believed it was only right that Lu Li would love her. Not to mention men, even women would want to protect her and shield her from the wind and rain. Pan Yuqin smiled. Let me put it this way. Your brother was trapped in a horrifying place. Even Lord Ji might not be able to come out. But your brother is out and his abilities have improved. In other words, he is more powerful than Lord Ji. Not even Emperor Yoxing can defeat him, let alone the divinity. So, you don't have to worry about him. He must lead the humans to defeat the demons and take back the lost lands. You will only distract him. You said my brother is the most powerful in the divinity and that not even Emperor Yoshing can defeat him. Qi Shi said stubbornly, I can go. I will feel better even in the wicked bead. I just want to see my brother. You will. Pan Yuqin said gently. If you're here, your brother will feel more at ease. He'll have no distractions and fight the abyss devils with all his might. That way, our chances of winning will be even higher. My good sister, your brother is trying to save the entire God realm. We all have to support him. You can stay here peacefully. That is the greatest support you can give him. All right, Qi Shi said with red eyes. Then big sister, you have to tell me the news in time. I want to know everything about my brother as soon as possible. There's no need to tell me. Pan Yuqin thought about it and said, well, you stay with me every day and help me do things. We will monitor the entire God realm. This way, you will be able to receive all the information about your brother at any time. All right, Qi Shi was delighted. She could not ask for more than anything to be able to help Lu Li. They received a lot of information every day and knew Lu Li's whereabouts as soon as possible. Scouts were sent out from the land of Yuyan. Many powerful warriors volunteered to be scouts, and all went to the divinity. Masters of formations from the craftsman's sect, and those from the space-time office, were sent out to build teleportation formations and repair them. The experts of the land of Yuyan Pass had also been mobilized. Apart from the 5 god kings who had stayed behind, the rest of the supreme martial artists and supreme martial artists of the god world had been mobilized, rushing towards the Grand Hua residence to meet up with Lu Li. The Great Hua Mansion was located in the central north of the divinity. Teleportation formations in many cities were still working. That being said, the journey would take at least half a month. During this time, the army of demons had quieted down. Those outside were teleported to the space-time city. Now that Lu Li had come out, the army of demons that were scattered around would eventually be devoured by Lu Li. Naturally, Emperor Yoshing had to send all the demons back. Lu Li did not stay idle. There were 3 armies of demons in more than a dozen prefectures nearby. Before those armies were sent back, Lu Li flew over and wiped out the nearly 1 million demons in the 3 armies. Scouts were teleported around, but it would take time for them to reach the divinity. Lu Li went back to the Great Hua Mansion and waited for the warriors from the divinity to come and report back. Some people from the Great Hua Mansion had come back, which brought some liveliness to the city. With Lu Li here, the Great Hua Mansion was the safest place in the divinity. Lord, this is the latest report from Lady Qin. In the backyard of the mansion of the mayor, a scout delivered the latest report. Lu Li opened it and nodded after reading it. The army of demons had retreated. Almost all of them were teleporting to the space-time city, and some were teleporting to the craftsman's city. What is Lord Yoshing trying to do? Ling Qinyan was not at the Great Hua Mansion. She had been working with Pan Yuqin to control the scouts in the divinity. Lu Li sat by himself and murmured to himself. He frowned. Emperor Yoshing had sent all the demons back. Was he going to defend with his life? Emperor Yoshing would not resign himself to fate. He must have his own plan. It was just that Lu Li could not figure it out yet. Right now, he only has 2 options. A gentle voice came from behind. Lu Li put on an interesting smile. He turned around to look at the beautiful lady and said with a smile, "Oh? What is your opinion, Lady Ning?" Ning Yu was wearing a white dress. Her figure was not as impressive as Ling Qingyan's, but she had curves. Her face was in the shape of an egg. Her hair was tied up in a crescent moon-shaped bun, which accentuated her tall and graceful figure. She walked over leisurely. She did not salute Lu Li or look at him. Instead, she looked at a tree nearby, giving Lu Li a nice view of her side profile. After a pause, she said with confidence, "Lord Lu Li has come back." Lord Yoshing has sent the army of demons back at once. It may seem that he is afraid of you, but based on his way of doing things, I think he has other plans. He will not go back to the realm of demons like this. Therefore, he has only two options. He can either defend the Craftsman City and the Spacetime City with his life, or he can set up a trap and kill you. You have a point. Lu Li smiled. This lady was not just a pretty face. She was knowledgeable. He reached out his hand and said, "Go on. If he wants to defend with his life, he should send all the army to the Craftsman City because that is a primordial treasure. It is easier to defend." Ning Yuer turned around and said, "But he has sent most of the army back to the Spacetime office. Craftsman's sect has only sent a small number. This means he does not really want to defend with his life. What is more, how long can he do that? What is he doing in the divinity? If he is trapped in the Craftsman City, he might as well go back to the realm of demons. So, his true goal should be to kill Lord Lu in secret." The smile on Lu Li's face grew wider. He said, "Then how do you think he will kill me? Where will he do that?" "The Craftsman City." Chapter 1723. Amazing! Lu Li praised from the bottom of his heart. He gave her a thumbs up and said, "Lady Ning is not only talented and beautiful, but also good at strategy. You are a heroine." Ning Yuer blushed and lowered her head shyly. Then, she bowed and said, "Milord, you flatter me. Yuer is just a bit rude. Milord is the one with true wisdom. Everything will be up to Milord." Lu Li took out a map and circled around the city of Spacetime and the city of Divinity. After a while, he looked up and asked, "Lady Ning, how do you think we should fight back?" Ning Yuer walked over, her body emitting a faint fragrance. She looked at the map a few times, then raised her head and said, "This Yuer can't say. After all, only Lord can look at the overall situation. If Yuer is wrong, I'm afraid it will affect Lord's judgment." "It's all right." Lu Li waved his hand and said, "You will be enlightened if you listen to both. Just tell me what you want. I will decide the details." "All right." Ning Yuer pointed at Spacetime City with her jade finger and said, "I think Sir should bring people to take down Spacetime City first, then mobilize the army to besiege Divine Craftsman City. Besiege without attacking, let the demons become chaotic first, then annihilate them in one fell swoop." "Not bad." Lu Li praised again, "Lady Ning, you are so smart. Thank you for your advice. I will consider it carefully." "Milord, you're too polite." Ning Yuer bowed again. She looked at Lu Li and sighed to herself. Even though Lu Li had praised her twice, his eyes were as clear as water. There was nothing strange about it. It meant that Lu Li was not interested in her. "Yuer will take her leave. Have an early rest, my lord." Ning Yuer was a proud girl and she had her own pride. Since Lu Li wanted her to leave, she would not be so thick-skinned to stay. She turned around and left with a gloomy expression on her face. Lu Li didn't ask her to stay. He just watched Ning Yuer leave. After a while, a shadow flew in from behind Lu Li. A mocking voice came out, "A beauty is throwing herself at you. Lord Lu, you are so calm?" Lu Li didn't look back. He smiled and said, "I am not a beast. I will jump on a good horse when I see one." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Li felt that something was wrong. This sentence is a bit ambiguous, a bit alluding to Ling Qinyan. Ling Qinyan was embarrassed. He walked over, stared at Lu Li and said, "Are you saying that I am a horse as well?" Lu Li put his arms around Ling Qinyan's waist and pulled her to sit on his lap. He said with a smile, "How can our Prince of Yen be a horse? You should be a fox spirit that can charm all the men in the world. In the end, aren't they all beasts?" Ling Qinyan said angrily. Then she laughed and said, "A vixen is not bad. At least she can charm our Lord Lu." While they were talking, Ling Qinyan twisted her body. The gentle rubbing brought Luli a great sense of pleasure and a different kind of temptation. Luli put his hand on Ling Qingyan's smooth abdomen, smelled her fragrance and asked, "Prince of Yen, you have been away for a few days. Do you have any good news?" "I have 2 pieces of news." Ling Qingyan's neck was tickled by Lu Li's breath. She turned around, put her arms around Lu Li's neck, looked up at him and said, "I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first?" Lu Li frowned and said, "The bad news first. We have detected that some demons are going into the void. They seem to be going to the Earth Imperial Universe." Ling Qingyan said softly, "Lu Li, you must have sealed off the purgatory of primordial chaos, right? Therefore, Yu Xing had to send demons into the void. I think they are going to the Earth Imperial Universe to capture your people." "What?" Lu Li pulled a long face. But on second thought, he relaxed. Patting Ling Qingyan's thigh, he said, "Go on." "Ha ha!" Ling Qingyan smiled mischievously and said, "Master Lu, don't worry. Qin cares more than you do. She has sent people to the 9 realms a long time ago. If anything happens there, she will receive the news. I have sent King North and King East to take charge of the purgatory of primordial chaos. Your people will be relocated secretly as well. Everything will be fine." "Good. You will be rewarded later." Lu Li was relieved. Since Pan Yuqin had made arrangements, then everything would be fine. There were so many universes and small worlds in the 9 universes. They could relocate to a random place. Even if the demons killed King North and King East, they would not be found anytime soon. It would not be too late for them to go back. What about the good news? Seeing that Ling Qingyan was in a good mood, Lu Li was looking forward to it. "Take a guess." Ling Qingyan kept Lu Li guessing. Lu Li was displeased. He put his hand into Ling Qingyan's dress and began to knead her breasts. Ling Qingyan could not bear it anymore. She begged, "Okay, my lord, I know I am wrong. Please stop, you bitch. You are becoming more and more aggressive." Lu Li snorted. He took his hand back and said, "Now, what is the good news?" Ling Qingyan's hair was a bit messy. Her cheeks were blushing. She looked quite charming. She rolled her eyes, tidied up her clothes and said, "We are out in the open. If someone sees us like this, I will be embarrassed to death." Seeing that Ling Qingyan was not going to beat around the bush, Lu Li grinned and said, "Do you believe that I will punish you on the spot?" I will talk. Ling Qingyan put on a pitiful expression and explained, "Recently, we have planted hundreds of high-level spies in the demon army. Now, we know the whereabouts of the demon army like the back of our hand." "Spies?" Lu Li was surprised. They could plant spies in the demon army? The demon army was filled with demonic energy. Average humans could not stay there for a long time. Otherwise, they would be demonized. Ling Qingyan explained, "We only discovered this recently. There is a special race that has a special ability. They have 2 souls. But from the outside, there is nothing special about them. Also, this race can set up formations. Therefore, they are valued by the powerful demons. On the surface, the powerful warriors of this race have become the soul slaves of the demons. But their main souls are not controlled. Recently, we have successfully contacted them. Now, they are responsible for collecting information from the inside and sending us the whereabouts of all the demons." 2 souls? Lu Li was taken aback. Nothing was too strange in the world. How could such a strange thing happen? After a while, Lu Li's eyes glowed. He nodded and said, "Okay, this is really good news. Know yourself and your enemy, and you will never be defeated. If they could find out all the arrangements of the demons, it would be easier for them to fight back. They could take their time to set up a formation and eliminate the demons bit by bit. In the end, they could keep all the demons in the divinity and weaken the demons." "Lord Lu," Ling Qingyan said with a grin, "I have made such a great contribution. How are you going to reward me?" "Of course." Lu Li carried Ling Qinyan in his arms and walked into the room. He kissed her on the cheek and said, "How about I become a horse tonight and let you ride until dawn?" "Lord, you are not a horse, you are a cow," Ling Qinyan said meaningfully. "Lord, you must work hard so that the land will not be barren." Chapter 1724. It had been a month and Lu Li had not done anything. He was not in a hurry. The demon armies were all gathered at the City of Space and the City of Divinity. There were no demons in other places. The demons could no longer harm humans. Therefore, it was the same whether they launched an attack in 3 months or 3 years. After what happened at the Star Sand City, Lu Li was more cautious. If he died or was trapped, then the situation in the Divinity would be irreversible. Emperor Yoshing was in the same situation as him. If he died or Emperor Yoshing died, then the war would be over. Neither of them could afford to lose. Therefore, Emperor Yoshing called back all the demons at once. The loss of one city or land was no longer important. Killing some supremes in the Divinity, killing some 8-winged demons, or even slaughtering tens of millions of demons was no longer important. Lu Li and Emperor Yoshing had become 2 swordsmen. Neither moved. They were planning quietly, looking for each other's weaknesses. In the end, they would have a decisive battle. The outcome would represent the outcome of the Divinity and the demons. Neither of them could afford to lose. Powerful warriors from the land of Yuyan had been mobilized. Many teleportation formations had been repaired. Some large-scale long-distance teleportation formations were being built. Many scouts were on their way day and night to the edge of the City of Divinity and the City of Divinity. They spread out like a net, monitoring the situation in the surroundings and watching the devil's every move. Suoqiu Lu and Luoguan were here. Many super-powerful warriors from the Divinity were here as well. Lu Li let them stay. He did not give any orders or summon anyone. They came to the Great Hua City but did not even get to see Lu Li. A few years ago, Lu Li was hated by everyone. Now, a group of powerful warriors in the Divinity could not even see him. This was ironic. Suoqiu Lu and the others were angry. They suspected that Lu Li was doing this on purpose to get back at them. But everyone had to swallow their anger. Living under another's roof, one had to yield. This roof was not Lu Li's home. Everyone had to rely on Lu Li. This was an indisputable fact. Without Lu Li, the Divinity would perish. Without Lu Li, they were nothing. They had to rely on Lu Li to survive and have a chance to destroy the demons. To be able to become an overlord, one had to be shrewd. On the surface, everyone seemed to be living comfortably, not revealing any impatient expressions. On the inside, however, he was surprised and worried. Why didn't Lu Li fight back? Lu Li, of course, was waiting for information about the demons' arrangements. Celestial Rain Qin and Ling Qinyan had contacted a strange race, and they were getting information about the demons. There were many demons, and there were even more demon slaves outside Divine Artisan City and Spacetime City. At least 10 billion demon slaves had been teleported over, and there were still many more demon slaves gathering there. With so many demons and demonic slaves, it was inevitable that there would be some chaos. It was easy for the two-soul race to investigate the situation. It was a bit difficult to transmit information, but Pan Yuqin and Ling Qinyan had already arranged it. Recently, information was transmitted every day. In the backyard of the City Master Mansion of the Great Hua Prefecture, Lu Li was drinking tea leisurely, staring at the 2 maps on the table. They were the topographic maps of the Spacetime City and Divine Artisan City. There were many circles and dots on the map. Ling Qinyan was sitting on the side with a beast in her arms. In the corner was a beautiful lady, the young lady of the Ning family. But this young lady of the Ning family was standing there with her hands down. She looked like a maid. As a matter of fact, Ningyue had been playing the role of a maid these days. She served Lu Li tea. Apart from serving Lu Li, She stood in the corner like a piece of wood. Luli did not know what to do. He could tell that Ningyue was a proud person. It was not her intention to humble herself and flatter Luli. This must be a task given to her by the Ning family. She was told to serve Luli well and to find a way to become his woman. She didn't mind even if it was just a one-night stand. There were many advantages to being born in a big family. Once a person was born, he or she could have something that others could never have. That being said, sometimes the price they had to pay was crueler than most. For the sake of the clan's development and benefits, they would often be sent out as chess pieces by the clan. Clearly, becoming Lu Li's woman would bring more benefits to the Ning family. Lu Li was now the well-deserved leader of the divinity. Zhuqiulu and the others had been waiting for him like grandchildren. This was evident. If Lu Li could defeat the demons this time, it was very likely that the situation in the divinity would change. At the very least, Lu Li would become an overlord. Lu Li was still young. It was not a problem for him to live for hundreds of thousands of years. The Ning family could benefit greatly from this tree. Moreover, the only thing they had to pay was a young lady. In comparison, even a fool would make such a choice. Furthermore, Lu Li was the dream lover of many young girls in the divinity. It seemed that Ningyue was interested in Lu Li as well. If she could gain Lu Li's favor, it would be a blessing for her. That was why the Ning clan head personally came over to say that he was afraid that ordinary servants would not be able to serve him well. Hence, he asked Ningyue to serve him personally. Lu Li didn't say anything. He didn't object, nor did he do anything that crossed the line with Ningyue. He was really treating her like a servant. Ling Qinyan did the same. They were busy with their own business and didn't pay any attention to Ningyue. Ningyue felt wronged. She was a beauty on the list of most beautiful women. She was talented and she had reached the level of a super mighty warrior in the divinity the year before last. Based on her abilities, she could have been on the list. It was just that the Cabinet of Mystery had not done so in recent years. Usually, many young masters would hang around her and she would turn a blind eye. All the young masters would coax her and do as she pleased. She had never been so embarrassed and humiliated. Not only did Lu Li ignore her, but he was actually treating her like a maid and ordering her around. Lu Li was doing this on purpose. He wanted to put an end to Ningyue's desire and at the same time, give her an explanation to her family. He was not in the mood to flirt or think about these things. Recently, he had been studying Yu Xing's plan. That was right. According to the intelligence, Yu Xing had been working on it frequently. Lu Li and Ling Qinyan had been analyzing for a long time, but they could not see through it. It was because of this that Lu Li was not in a hurry to take action. All of Yu Xing's plans had only one purpose, to kill Lu Li. But according to the intelligence, these plans were not a threat to Lu Li. Yu Xing was a sophisticated and astute man. He once tricked and killed Lord Ji. He would not do something that was pointless. That was why Lu Li did not act rashly. Report, from outside came a voice. Ling Qinyan stood up and walked out with the pet in her arms. After the time for one incense stick to burn, she came back. As soon as she came in, she said with joy, "I have the latest information. Yu Xing's plan has been cracked." What? Lu Li raised his eyebrows. Ling Qinyan walked over slowly, pointed to the city of craftsmen and said, "He must have built a formation of evil here. Recently, he has been secretly killing many Asmodean slaves and using their blood to enhance the formation. Even the man with 2 souls can feel that the formation is growing stronger. I think he is trying to trap and kill you in the city of craftsmen. I am right. Okay." Chapter 1725. Although it was said that they were sending out troops, in reality, only a few thousand people were sent out. However, these few thousand people were the experts of the God world. Lu Li no longer planned to mobilize regular warriors. For one thing, teleportation was too troublesome. For another, teleportation was not very effective. Having the Void Worm was equivalent to having an army of thousands of men and horses. If he wanted to destroy the demon army, the Void Worm would be much faster. There were more than 4,000 experts, and the weakest among them was a super mighty expert from the immortal world. This was a gathering of the majority of the experts from the immortal world and the land of Yuyen. With fewer people, they were more mobile. Everyone teleported all the way over and quickly marched towards Divine Artisan City. On the surface, the demon army had been mobilized to Divine Artisan City and Spacetime City. In fact, there were still some scouts hidden in the various prefectures. Luli knew this situation like the back of his hand. He didn't ask the human scouts to kill all the demon scouts. He had even purposely made the army look ostentatious, so that Great Emperor Yoshing would think that he was going to attack Divine Artisan City. Luli found a man to pretend to be him. The man dyed his hair white. Surrounded by a group of powerful warriors, Luli sneaked toward the Spacetime office with Zhuoqiu Lu, Luo Guan and several other supreme warriors. He put the 10 divinity supreme warriors into the wicked bead and then flew across the void by himself. Every time he came out, he would check the surroundings and kill any demon scouts right away. The reason why Luli brought 10 supreme warriors from the divinity with him was that he did not want to take any more risk. It was better to be safe than sorry. With the cooperation of 10 powerful warriors, they could look after each other even if something went wrong. They were also able to see through many dangerous situations, so they wouldn't be as easily trapped as they had been in Star Sand City. As he flew through the void, he didn't dare to fly in a straight line. Instead, he took a detour. Even though he took a detour, he only spent half a month to reach the vicinity of Spacetime City. He halted in a small town. Pan Yuqin had sent him a message earlier that Jian Shilai would wait for him in this small town. All the information in this area was monitored by Jian Shilai. Since Luli was going to attack the Spacetime City, he needed to know the information in the vicinity in time. There were no residents in this city, but human scouts could be seen hiding everywhere. This should be the base of human scouts. As soon as Luli approached the city, he was spotted by scouts. But those scouts were well trained. They didn't come out to salute or even expose themselves. After entering the city, 3 people drifted out, led by Jian Shilai. Young Master. Jian Shilai had already received the news that Luli was in disguise, so he recognized him at first glance. Luli waved his hand without saying a word. Jian Shilai led the way and even dismissed the scouts around him. Jian Shilai led Luli into a castle. After the inhibition formation was activated, Luli took out the wicked bead and let Zhuoqiu Lu, Luo Guan and the others out. Jian Shilai bowed to them one by one. Zhuoqiu Lu and the others nodded with pride. Luli sat at the head of the table and said, "Tell me about it." Jian Shilai took out a map and hung it on the wall. There were many circles and dots on the map. He said while pointing to a city, "This is the Spacetime City. There are 3 satellite cities next to it, all of which are occupied by the demons. This satellite city is called the Sky City." The corners of Zhuoqilu's mouth twitched slightly, and she looked a little unnatural. This was the headquarters of their spacetime mansion, but now it had become the headquarters of the demons. His hometown had been occupied by the demons, and Jian Shilai was introducing the situation nearby to him. How could he accept this? After Jian Shilai's introduction, the others were more confident. According to Jian Shilai, there were many demons and slaves in the spacetime mansion, but the real powerful demons had all gone to the divinity. The day before yesterday, Yu Xing showed up at the divinity. Even though it was just a flash, the man with 2 souls sensed him. Therefore, the spacetime city seemed to have a large number of powerful warriors, but in fact, it was just an empty shell. There were 20 million demons and billions of slaves here, but there were not many arrangements. Almost none of the powerful demons were here. As for Luli and the others, the pressure was not so great. "Tell me, how should we fight this battle so that we can have a good fight?" Luli said. There were only 11 of them, and there were 20 million demons. Yet, they had to say that they could have a good fight. If it were not Luli, even Zhuo Qiulu and the others would think he was a lunatic. Zhuo Qiulu thought for a while and said while making up her mind, "To kill all the demons, we must destroy the space-time altar first. As long as we can do that, all the teleportation altars in the space-time office will be useless. The powerful demons from the divinity will not be able to come here. Even if the demons here run away, Luli can hunt them down easily." Destroy the space-time altar? Luo Guan and the others looked at each other and said to themselves how cruel Zhuo Qiulu was. The space-time altar was the foundation of the space-time office. If it was destroyed, it would cost a lot to rebuild it. However, the space-time altar was under the control of the demons, which could help the powerful demons to come here at any time. They had to destroy it. Luli nodded and said, "Chief Zhuo, do you have a way to destroy the space-time altar?" "Yes." Zhuo Qiulu nodded and said with determination, "As long as I can go in and get close to the space-time altar, I can destroy it in an instant. That is not difficult." Luli nodded and said while staring at the map, "How about the 11 of us split up? The 9 of you will attack from all directions? Attract the firepower, and I will rush in with Chief Zhuo and destroy the space-time altar?" Okay. The other 9 didn't have any objections. They were only attacking from the outside and could advance or retreat at any time. If Luli and Zhuo Qiulu rushed into the city, they would be in more danger. "I will go in with you." Luo Guan suddenly stood up and said, "One more person can go in and take care of the situation. They are more than enough to support the outside." Okay. Luli nodded and agreed after some thought. The 2 most powerful people in this group were Zhuo Qiulu and Luo Guan. If the 3 of them rushed in, they could take care of each other even if something happened. You take turns to attack and coordinate well. Start when I give the order. Luli drew a line on the map and said, "I will have the Worms of the Void attack from the west to confuse the demon army. Then, you can take advantage of the chaos and attack from the south and north. We will sneak into the city and destroy the space-time altar first. Any other questions?" No. The group stood up to accept the order. Luli, Zhuo Qiulu and Luo Guan nodded and waved their hands, saying, "Let's go." The group of powerful warriors walked out of the city and sneaked away quickly. Jian Shilai ordered the scouts to take action as well. First, they were to gather information, and second, they were to be ready to evacuate or hide at any time. Once the city was in chaos, many demons would flee. By then, the scouts would be killed by the demon army if they didn't hide. Luli led Zhuo Qiulu and Luo Guan. The 3 of them moved stealthily like ghosts and soon arrived near the Zhuoqiu city. They didn't dare to get too close because the periphery was full of demon slaves. They could only look at the magnificent city on the peak of a mountain from a distance. Phew! Chapter 1726. Half a day later, the attack began. Luli placed 5 billion Worms of the Void at the west and 4 divinity warriors at the north and south respectively. Luli, Luo Guan, and Zhuo Qiulu were at the northwest. The Worms of the Void moved forward on the ground. Luli's order was to wait for further orders after 300 miles. The outer area was filled with Asmodeans. There was nothing to attack. Only by attacking the demons could they instill panic. While the Worms of the Void were moving underground, Luli, Zhuo Qiulu, and Luo Guan sneaked in. Luli had the cloaking armor and Zhuo Qiulu and Luo Guan had skills that could make them invisible. Average Asmodeans did not have souls and could not see them. Luli and Zhuo Qiulu went past a citadel. Zhuo Qiulu was familiar with the terrain here. He led the way and the 3 of them arrived at the foot of the mountain of time. Attack! Luli ordered the worms of the void to move. The worms of the void thousands of miles underground surged up. The foot of the mountain of time was filled with demons, and there was a strong presence of demons underground as well. The worms of the void were noticed before they could come up. Worms of the void, demons of the void are here. Worms, worms. Lord, the demons of the void are here. The fiends at the foot of the mountain all flew into the air. Their faces were filled with fear as they flew towards the city at the summit of the mountain. As the demons on this side flew up, the rest of the demons also exploded, and they all flew towards the mountain peak one after another. However, the average demons were too slow, slower than the worms of the void. Before they could reach the peak, the worms of the void had caught up with them. Swarms of worms of the void dashed into the demons. Many demons held their heads, rolled around in midair and howled in pain. Whoosh, 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 more and more demons flew up, covering the sky and the earth. Looking at the worms of the void, the demons screamed in terror. Boom, boom, boom. The divinity warriors at the north and south began to attack. Following Luli's order, they did not aim for the most lethal moves, but the most powerful ones. This was to give the demons the illusion that the human army had launched a large-scale attack, and that countless experts and troops had come. At the same time, it was to distract the demons so that Luli, Zhuoqiulu and Luoguan could enter the city. Go! Luli, Zhuoqiulu, and Luoguan looked at each other. It was a mess both inside and outside the city. Demons were attracted by the worms of the void and supreme warriors from the divinity to the south and north. This was the best opportunity. There was a high chance that they could easily sneak into the city. As expected, Luli and the other two quickly ran along the foot of the mountain. Even though they were invisible, the demon would still be able to sense them. However, none of the fiend powerhouses were paying attention to what was happening. They were all focused on the void worm and the exalts of the divine world. Something is not right. When they were about to reach the peak, Luli frowned. He sensed something was wrong. The demons actually didn't flee? So many void worms were rushing up, and demons were being devoured at every moment, but these low-level demons were only fleeing in all directions. How come none of them were fleeing in all directions? Could it be that they don't dare to escape without the order of the evil demon master? They received a death order from Great Emperor Yoshing not to leave Spacetime City? An idea flashed across Luli's mind. But he had no time to think about it now that he was outside the city. Zhuoqiulu had already rushed into the city, so he could only follow her. Enemy attack. With a shrill voice, the demon finally noticed Luli and the other two. As soon as Zhuoqiulu showed up, he dashed into the city and shouted, "Those who stand in my way will die." Zhuoqiulu had a halberd in his hand. The halberd was emitting a ray of light that was thousands of feet long. The ray of light was glowing in two colors, cyan and black. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of demons on the city wall were killed. Impressive! Luli took a look and found that the ray of light from Zhuoqiulu could cut a small crack in space. This was not an ordinary crack. It was like a sharp saber had swept across a person. That person seemed to be fine, but he had been cut in half without a trace. Luoguan took action as well. A silver longbow appeared in her hand and she shot an arrow. The arrow split up in the air and turned into thousands of arrows that targeted at demons at will. Thousands of demons were killed in one move. Even though it didn't kill thousands of demons in one move, hundreds of demons were killed. Zhuoqiulu was unstoppable. She dashed into the city, followed by Luoguan and Luli. Luli didn't use any powerful attack. He just used the Slayer's move and killed a large number of demons in one move. There were so many demons in the city that it was like an ant's nest. The three of them dashed into the city at once. The city was large, covering an area with an area of 300 miles. There were countless demons in the city. Wherever they used psychic power, there were demons. Zhuoqiulu was at the front, rushing toward the center of the city. Yuxing was not in the city and Luli was here. Zhuoqiu Lu had nothing to fear. What was more, seeing the heads hanging outside the city, Zhuoqiu Lu could not suppress his anger. Therefore, he was losing his mind. Seeing so many demons in the city, Zhuoqiu Lu didn't care anymore. He killed his way toward the city master's mansion. Something is wrong, Lu Li was calm. Because he was tricked in the Star Sand City, he went in and checked around. He found that the demons were panicking but showed no signs of running away. In addition, he could smell a faint scent of blood in the city. Generally speaking, it was normal to smell blood in the city. After all, this city had been massacred. Demons were everywhere here. It was normal for demons to kill demon slaves or human warriors. But Lu Li felt something was off. The demons had occupied the city for a long time. Even if they had massacred the city, the smell of blood should have disappeared. There were no human bodies in the city. If so, where was the smell coming from? Something is not right. Lu Li used psychic power to check the city. When he saw an 8-winged demon, he noticed something was wrong. The 8-winged demon showed no signs of panic. Instead, he put on a mocking smile. He shouted, "Chief, Master, something is wrong." Zhuoqiu Lu was surprised to hear Lu Li's words. Then, without thinking about anything else, he took out a black iron ball and went in. The iron ball dashed out of the city like a shooting star. He ran away. Lu Li and Luo Guan were stunned for the time for one breath. They flew up, trying to run. Buzzing right at that moment, a ray of dazzling light came from under the city. Countless lines of blood came together from all directions and then formed a beam of light. The beam of light rushed up and locked onto Lu Li and Luo Guan. The blood-red light made Lu Li and Luo Guan feel a fatal sense of danger in their souls. A surge of horrifying qi and energy came from the blood-red light beam. Lu Li and Luo Guan both had the same idea. If they didn't run away, they might be killed by the blood-red light beam. Luo Guan had a secret skill that could burn divine energy in her body to increase her speed by several times in a short time. If she used this skill, she could run away easily. However, she did not run away. Instead, a silver shield appeared in her hand. The shield shone with a brilliant silver light and continued to grow larger. She rushed down toward the blood-red light beam. She turned her head to the sky and shouted, "Lu Li, run, Master!" Lu Li shouted, but Luo Guan had already rushed down. Lu Li's eyes flickered. He had to make up his mind and run to the north. Bang! He had just run for more than 300 miles when he heard a muffled sound. He used psychic power to check and found that the shield in Luo Guan's hand was knocked away by the blood-red light beam. Then she was enveloped by the blood-red light beam. Lu Li's heart trembled at this moment because he found that after Luo Guan was enveloped by the blood-red light beam, blood gushed out from all her pores. In other words, all the blood in her body was being sucked out. Her face instantly turned as pale as blood, and her body rapidly sunk in like a deflated balloon. Chapter 1727. Master! Lu Li cried out in sorrow. In the past, she and the craftsman's sect held grudges against each other, but they made peace for the time being. He was a little unhappy with the craftsman's sect, but he had a good impression of Luo Guan. Everyone had their own masters. In fact, craftsman's sect didn't do anything wrong back then. After all, the major forces had to protect their interests. Lu Li had violated the interests of the craftsman's sect and disgraced the craftsman's sect. Naturally, as the master, Luo Guan had to kill Lu Li. This time, when they were in danger, Zhuoqiu Lu ran away at once. Luo Guan, on the other hand, did not hesitate at all. In order to let Lu Li escape, he took the initiative to court death. The two completely different attitudes were a great shock to Lu Li. His dissatisfaction with Luo Guan and the craftsman's sect vanished completely. Old demon Yu Xing. Standing in the sky dozens of miles away from the city, Lu Li yelled, clenching his teeth. He was once again tricked by old devil Yuxing. If not for Luo Guan helping him by some time, who knows what would have happened? It was obvious. Old devil Yuxing's real arrangements were either in Spacetime City or in both cities. Lu Li even suspected that old demon Yuxing already knew about the man with two souls. He pretended not to know and let Lu Li know about his plans so that Lu Li could attack the Spacetime City, walking right into the trap. To attack the Spacetime City, the Spacetime altar must be breached first. Therefore, he had set up such a vicious formation or skill in the city. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li had noticed something and if Luo Guan hadn't sent himself to his death, Lu Li would have been killed. Vicious, powerful. Even as an enemy, Lu Li had to admire Yuxing. No wonder he could kill Lord Ji so easily. This old devil's methods were too cunning and sinister. If one was not careful, they would be tricked to death by him. Buzz, buzz, Lu Li did not run away. The blood-red ray of light was powerful, but it could not reach more than a mile away. Luo Guan's death had made him furious to the extreme. He was too lazy to use any schemes. He was ready to fight openly, step by step, and destroy the evil demon army. His wicked bead glowed. Many worms of the void were teleported out and spread to all sides. Since these demons weren't going to escape, then he would just have to kill them all. At this moment, Lu Li realized that his previous train of thought was wrong. Right now, he was completely capable of fighting old devil Yuxing head-on. He also had so many void worms that he could crush any demon army. If that was the case, why would he spend so much effort? What was the use of those schemes? All he had to do was crush the evil demon army in an upright manner, and crush it bit by bit. After coming up with so many schemes and thinking of so many methods, in the end, old devil Yuxing had schemed against them, causing Luo Guan's sacrifice to be in vain. No matter what kind of schemes old demon Yuxing had, he would use force to crush him. If there were any arrays or demonic techniques, he would break them bit by bit. Once Spacetime City was razed to the ground, no evil arrays would work. Ha ha ha! At this moment, the demonic aura from the Spacetime City surged upwards and condensed into a huge phantom in midair. A deep and husky voice came out, "Lu Li, you are still too naive. Do you think I can't see through your little trick? Ha ha, you've all been tricked. Today, all of you will stay here." Whoosh, Zhuqiu, who was running away, sped up the iron ball. She didn't dare to stop and ran away like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bowstring. But Lu Li didn't move. Standing in midair, he said, "Really? You want to build another formation of blood demons? Who are you going to sacrifice this time? All the 10-winged demons are dead. How about you build one yourself and see if it can trap me?" Lu Li was dozens of miles away from the city. He was still releasing void worms. He was not afraid of any tricks old devil Yuxing might have. If old devil Yuxing had a powerful formation, why would he waste so many words? Clearly, old devil Yuxing was trying to scare Lu Li away. Ha ha ha! Another burst of laughter came out. Old devil Yuxing said, "You don't have to sacrifice anyone. Lu Li, if you dare to attack the Spacetime City, I will make sure you die a tragic death. If you have balls, don't run away this time." "You are overthinking," Lu Li sneered. "I will stand here. Come out and we will fight to the death. Also, if you have balls, don't let the demons leave. I will admit that you are good." Lu Li could see clearly now. There was indeed a formation in the city. Many demon slaves, demons and humans must have been sacrificed to build a strange, evil formation. He was dozens of miles away from the city. Even if the evil formation were to attack him, he would have enough time to fly away. Old devil Yuxing's shadow was talking nonsense here. Clearly, he was trying to scare Lu Li away or lure him into the city. "Go!" Lu Li waved his hand. Many void worms swarmed toward the Spacetime City. Above the city, old devil Yuxing's shadow was taken aback. He shouted angrily, "Listen up! Follow the original plan. Whoosh! Old Devil Yuxing's order made all the demons feel as if they had been granted amnesty. They fled to the other 3 directions and no longer dared to stay in or out of the city. In the city, a huge altar glowed. Some powerful demons must have been teleported away. Charge! Millions of demons rushed toward Luli. Many demon slaves came as well. None of them were afraid of death. Many demons launched long-range attacks at Luli. Whoosh! Luli dashed around to avoid the attacks. He waved his frigid-edge saber randomly. Many demons were enveloped by the void worms before they could get close. Some demon slaves were killed by Luli's Slayer's move. Whoosh! Zhuqiu Lu came back. The halberd in his hand glowed as he chased after the demons. He shouted in rage, "Those who stand in my way will die!" Damn you! Luli glared at Zhuqiu Lu with disgust. He despised him even more. If the demons had been defeated, Luli would have killed Zhuqiu Lu. Zhuqiu Lu looked at him with ferocity. People who didn't know him might think he was brave. When he was running for his life, he was faster than a rabbit. No wonder he could survive so many battles. Luli. Old Devil Yuxing's shadow faded away. He said, "The thousands you sent to the craftsman's city will all be killed by me. Also, the land of Yuyan will be waiting for my bloody revenge." Zhuqiu Lu and the other supremes from the immortal world stopped in their tracks, and an anxious look appeared on their faces. They couldn't care less about Divine Craftsman City here, and if Great Emperor Yoshing took the initiative to attack, it was very likely that those few thousand people would be killed. There was also the land of Yuyan. There were too many humans there, but only a few powerful warriors. If Old Devil Yuxing had something planned, once some were demonized, there could be a chain reaction. Tens of billions of humans might be demonized as well. What are you panicking about? Chapter 1728. Yuxing was going to attack the thousands of warriors at the City of Divinity. It would be too late for Luli and the others to help. Jian Shilai must be nearby, and he would send the message as soon as possible. Therefore, it was pointless for Luli and the others to worry. They might as well deal with the matter here first. As for the land of Yuyan, Luli didn't think Yuxing had the ability to reach there. He had been busy with the City of Divinity and the City of Space. He didn't have the time or the ability to go to the land of Yuyan. Similarly, Jian Shilai would send the message to Pan Yuqin in time. Pan Yuqin could deal with a small number of demons at the land of Yuyan. Luli didn't have to worry about her. The meaning behind old demon Yuxing's words before he left was too obvious. If he wanted to do something, there was no need for him to shout. Therefore, he was trying to scare them away and save the demon army. Luli would not let him have his way. Forget about the demon slaves. Kill the demons and try to kill all of them. Luli yelled. He released all the worms of the void. While killing the demons nearby, he moved closer to the City of Space. Then, he released the Slayer's ghost cut from the distance. Swish, a sky-shattering saber radiance spun thrice in midair before heavily striking the mountain of time and space. Along the way, many demons were cut into pieces. In the end, there was a huge ravine in the mountain of space and a crack on the city wall of the City of Space as well. Luli, what are you doing? Zhuqiu saw that the entire mountain of space was shaking. Seeing that Luli was about to release the Slayer's ghost cut again, Zhuqiu yelled, "You will split the entire mountain of space and time." The mountain of space and time were destroyed, and so was the City of Space. This was the base camp of the Spacetime Office, the symbol of the Spacetime Office. This city had been standing in the divinity for 1,000,000 years. Zhuqiu would not allow Luli to destroy this ancient city. "I want to split the mountain." Luli answered coldly, "We cannot destroy the Spacetime altar without splitting the mountain. How about you go and destroy the altar?" For a moment, Zhuqiu didn't know what to say. There was an evil formation in the city. Luo Guan had just been killed. How could he have the courage to go to the city? Swish! Lu Li ignored Zhuo Lu. He swung his saber again and used the Ghost Slayer at the same spot. His goal was obvious. He wanted to split the mountain apart and cause it to collapse, ultimately destroying the space-time city. The city would definitely be protected by a formation, and so would the space-time altar. However, once the mountain was split open, many of the array bases and array patterns would be destroyed. At that time, it would trigger a chain reaction that could destroy all the arrays. Lu Li, don't attack first. There's always a way. An ancient city with 1,000,000 years of history, the symbol of the space-time mansion. It contained the hard work of countless seniors over the past 1,000,000 years, not to mention the many precious heavenly charm steals within the city. Zhuo Lu didn't want this city to be destroyed. If that happened, he would become a sinner of the space-time mansion. Of course, there was a way. As a matter of fact, Lu Li could ask Blood Fairy to crack the formation. However, he did not want to. He wanted to destroy the city of time. Hearing Zhuo Lu's babbling, Lu Li was enraged. He turned around, pointed his saber at Zhuo Lu and shouted, "Zhuo Lu, shut up. Demons are teleporting away all the time. Go or destroy the space-time altar. If you can't do that, don't waste your time here. I am not in a good mood. If you keep babbling, I will cut you up." The other 8 divinity supremes were stunned. They stopped their attacks and looked at Zhuo Lu in astonishment. Lu Li was losing his temper. Was he going to fight Zhuo Lu? Or was he going to humiliate Zhuo Lu in public? You! Zhuo Lu pulled a long face. There were 8 divinity supremes here and many scouts were lurking nearby. Lu Li had slapped him in the face in public. If it was the old him, he would have killed Lu Li right away without thinking about anything. However, now, he would not dare to do that, not only because of the demons, but also because of Lu Li's abilities. Lu Li was someone that even Emperor Yoshing was afraid of. Zhuo Lu had seen the power of the Slayer's Ghost Cut. If Lu Li were to use the Slayer's Ghost Cut on him, Zhuo Lu was not confident that he could survive it. Boom! Seeing that Zhuo Lu did not say anything, Lu Li struck at the Mountain of Time again. The mountain was protected by a strong formation. Though the formation was not activated, it would take some time for the mountain to be split open. Otherwise, he could split an average mountain in one move. The worms of the void were chasing after demons. Unfortunately, there were too many of them. Many managed to escape and they controlled Asmodeans to swarm over. For the worms of the void, Asmodeans and demons were indistinguishable. Even demons and humans were indistinguishable. To prevent the divinity supremes from being attacked, Lu Li controlled the direction of the worms of the void. 20 million demons. Even though Lu Li had released more than 10 billion worms of the void, the agility of the worms of the void was too low. So far, only 3 or 4 million demons had been killed. Zhuo Lu and the 8 divinity supremes were losing their strength. Among the demons, there were no 8-winged demons. They had all been teleported away. Therefore, they did not use particularly powerful skills. Instead, they chose skills that could kill the demons with the widest area of effect and the greatest number. The wider the area of effect, the less lethal it could be. Therefore, every time they used skills, they could only kill hundreds of demons. It would be good enough if they could kill more than 1,000 at once. Demons were strong in defense. Regular attacks might not be able to finish them in one move. Boom, 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 Lu Li kept on attacking. The crack on the Mountain of Time was getting bigger and deeper. When Lu Li released the 38th move, the protective mountain formation in the mountain was finally broken. The entire mountain collapsed. Ancestors of Space-Time Office, Zhuo Lu is guilty. Zhuo Lu looked awful. He closed his eyes and murmured in pain. Not only were there many precious relics in the city, but there were also tombs of past masters. If the city of spacetime was destroyed by demons, Zhuoqiulu would not be so angry. But now, it was destroyed by Luli right in front of him. Zhuoqiulu felt aggrieved, but he dared not to say anything. He didn't even dare to look at Luli. He knew that Luli had always disliked him, and that the hatred between them could not be resolved. After Luli defeated the demons, he would deal with Zhuoqiulu to settle the score. If Zhuoqiulu dared to say anything now, Luli would take the chance to kill him right now. Luli, just you wait. Zhuoqiulu opened his eyes and glanced at Luli. He murmured to himself, "When the army of demons retreats, I will make you regret what you did today. I will make you regret." Luli did not have time to pay attention to Zhuoqiulu. He used psychic power to make sure that the spacetime altar was destroyed. He waved his hand and said, "Guys, don't worry about the city of divinity and the land of Yuyan. Our task now is to hunt down the 20 million demons and kill them all. Shilai, send a message to Ling Qinyan and ask her to cooperate with me to hunt down the 20 million demons." Luli shouted to a random direction. He did not give specific instructions. He believed that Ling Qinyan would know what to do after he sent the message. Chapter 1729. Pan Yuqin's intelligence network was impressive. Soon, the message from Jian Shilai was delivered. Ling Qinyan and the thousands of warriors were about to arrive at the city of divinity. Upon receiving the message, they dispersed and went into hiding. That being said, Yu Xing still took action. He killed a supreme warrior and a group of super mighty warriors in the divinity in person. Soon, Ling Qinyan received another message from Jian Shilai, telling him Luli's message. Ling Qinyan understood at once. He told the thousands of warriors to teleport to the spacetime office to hunt down the army of demons together. Only a few thousand warriors were mobilized from the divinity. They were scattered. It would be hard for Yu Xing to hunt them down. What was more, many demons were gathered at the city of divinity. That was the last base camp of the demons. Yu Xing would not go too far. After chasing for 5 days, Great Emperor Yoxing retreated. The human experts hurriedly teleported or stealthily towards the space-time city. Luli kept on going. The 10 warriors were all strong. They could kill the demons quickly, especially Luli. Luli, in particular, had the worms of the void. Many demons would be bitten to death. However, the number of demons was too great. They had all fled. It was impossible to wipe them out in a short time. Even if the thousands of demons were here, it would still be difficult to kill them all. Luli was not in a hurry. There were almost no humans in the divinity. He could take his time. Pan Yuqin had been monitoring the situation at the city of divinity. How could the remaining 10 million demons just vanish into thin air? Though the number of demons was smaller, most of the powerful ones were there. That was the last stronghold of the demons. Yu Xing would not dare to mess around. After more than a dozen days, Luli had lost count of how many demons he had killed. Finally, Ling Qinyan and the others teleported to the nearby area and began to clean up the remaining demons. Luli did not stop. Based on the situation of Jian Shilai and the others, he headed toward the direction with the most number of demons. Though there were thousands of warriors and so many supreme warriors in the divinity, Luli alone was more powerful than an army. He was the main force of the hunt. Luli was only going after the demon army with the largest number. He would go to whichever direction with the most number of demons. As long as he could wipe out a large group of demons, he could leave the smaller ones to the human warriors or kill them later. Luli could fly across the void, which made it easy for him to catch up with the demons. Those demons might have been flying for over a dozen days, but Luli could catch up with them in one leap. The demons here were all low-level demons, and there were very few high-level demons. Naturally, their speed would not be too fast. Another half a month passed, and a large portion of the demon army was almost completely defeated. More than half of the 20 million demons were killed. The remaining millions of abyss devils were scattered in dozens of nearby prefectures. Lu Li stopped the chase and left the rest to the thousands of people. He and Ling Qinyan met in a small city. He needed to control the overall situation and make the next action plan. Congratulations on my lord's triumphant return. Ling Qinyan stood outside the castle, looking at Lu Li with a smile. Lu Li, on the other hand, was not in the mood to tease Ling Qinyan. He waved his hand and said, "Triumph my ass. Let's talk inside." Ling Qinyan knew that Lu Li was in a bad mood because of what happened to Steward Luo. She stopped joking and followed Lu Li in obediently. Lu Li didn't sit down after he went in. He took out the map and hung it on the wall. He asked, "What's the situation now?" "Yu Xing hasn't done anything." Ling Qinyan pointed to the city of craftsmen and said, "He has been in the city of craftsmen. All the remaining demons are in the city. The shield is down and the two souls cannot send messages out. We have people in an area with a radius of 300,000 miles around the city of craftsmen. We will know anything about the demons." Lu Li kept a straight face. He looked to the north of the map and asked, "What about the land of Yuyan? Is there anything going on?" "Yes." Ling Qinyan sighed and said, "There is a small group of demons over there. They are all six-winged demons and they are very good at hiding. Half a month ago, they attacked many places at the same time and many people were demonized. But Qin Girl was prepared. She suppressed the spreading of the demon slaves at once. It is a pity that only half of the six-winged demons were killed. Maybe it won't be long before they organize a second operation and more people will die." Lu Li pulled a long face and asked, "How many did we lose this time?" "More than 100 million. Ling Qinyan let out a slight sigh. "You also know that the population of the land of Yuyan is too dense, and the battle strength of the people there is too low. Once one of them is demonized, it may cause a chain reaction. This time Qin Girl has done very well. If it were not for her plan, more than 1 billion people would have been demonized and died." Lu Li's face was getting more and more gloomy. Too many powerful warriors had died in the divinity. He did not have enough people at his disposal. He could not take care of the situation at the land of Yuyan. When most of the demons here are killed, send a few hundred super-powerful warriors back. Lu Li waved his hand, closed his eyes and began to think. Ling Qinyan walked to his back and rubbed his temples. He said softly, "Lu Li, don't put too much pressure on yourself. This is a calamity for the divinity. We just have to try our best. Sometimes we can't do things well just because we want to. You have done well enough." "Not enough." Lu Li shook his head and said, "If it were not for my mistake, Clan Master Luo would not have died. I was too clever for my own good." "You are not to be blamed." Ling Qinyan hugged Lu Li from behind and said, "Yu Xing is to blame for this. He is too cunning and good at scheming. Lord Ji died because of him, didn't he? Lu Li, instead of regretting the past, it is better to cherish the present and tomorrow. Only by killing Yu Xing can you avenge Clan Master. Do you have a plan for what to do next?" "No." Lu Li could feel the softness and fullness on his back, but he was not distracted. He opened his eyes and said, "You know that the craftsman's city is a treasure of chaos, and a powerful one at that. This is not a formation which cannot be cracked. Clan Master Luo is dead. Average warriors of the craftsman's sect are not qualified to know the secrets of the city. Yu Xing is guarding the city with all his might. I don't think we can do anything." "Surround him?" Ling Qinyan thought about it and said, "There are more than 10 million demons in there. How long can they stay in there? We are not in a hurry. They don't have any materials in there. As time goes by, there will be internal strife. Just like when Asmodean besieged the craftsman's city. Besieging is not a problem." Lu Li walked to the map and said, I can build some formations to envelop the city in many formations. The problem now is, why did old demon Yuxing do this? What is the point for him to guard the city? If so, why didn't he bring the demons back to the realm of demons? Well, Ling Qingyin's eyebrows were knitted together. While Lu Li was killing the demons, it was Yu Xing's best chance to escape. If he had no hope of winning, why didn't he take the chance and run away with the rest of the demons? At the very least, he could preserve some strength so that the realm of demons would not suffer a crushing defeat. Chapter 1730. For months later, the demons that escaped from the Spacetime Office were wiped out. Apart from a small number of demons hiding in caves and in the mountains, the rest were all killed. Pan Yuqin selected over 100,000 warriors from the Yuyan land to serve as scouts. They were scattered across the divinity. Now the entire divinity was under surveillance. Apart from the craftsman's city, there were few demons in other places. As long as the demons in the craftsman's city were wiped out, the world would be at peace and the divinity would be safe from a catastrophe. The demons at the Yuyan land were making trouble again, but Pan Yuqin noticed them in advance. After some preparation, the demons were wiped out. Not too many died this time. Only millions of civilians were demonized. Lu Li came to a small city to the north of the city of Craftsman's City. Almost all the powerful warriors in the divinity were here, including many mighty warriors. With Lu Li here, they were not afraid of Yuxing's sneak attacks. Lu Li was not in a hurry to attack. He just took control of the city. He set up some inhibition formations around the city of Craftsman's City and many scouts. He gathered the powerful warriors to brainstorm on how to crack the city of Craftsman's City. Luo Huang came. Patriarch Ying and some other patriarchs of the craftsman's sect were here as well. When everyone was here, Lu Li stood up and bowed to the craftsman's sect. I am deeply sorry that Master Luo died in the city of time and space. Today, I will make it clear that in the future, I will not turn a blind eye to anything that happens to the craftsman's sect. Anyone that dares to bully the craftsman's sect will be my enemy. Thank you, Lord Lu. Luo Huang and the other patriarchs of the craftsman's sect bowed. All the supreme warriors of the craftsman's sect in the divinity were dead, except for 2 martial arts addicts who cared about nothing. The 2 supreme warriors of the divinity were unwilling to be the master. The craftsman's sect chose Luo Huang as their new master. That being said, it was understandable. Almost all the senior warriors of the craftsman's sect had died in battle. The younger generation did not have the experience to convince others. Luo Huang was Luo Guan's adopted granddaughter. She was a master craftsman and her abilities were not bad. More importantly, she was on good terms with Lu Li. If she was chosen to be the master of the craftsman's sect, Lu Li would not kill her and destroy the craftsman's sect, even if Lu Li might not take care of her. Patriarch Ying and the others were exclaiming. Back in the days, Patriarch Ying wanted Lu Li to be his student. What's more, because he thought highly of Lu Li, many things happened later. In the end, Lu Li and the craftsman's sect became enemies. Patriarch Ying of the craftsman's sect. He was a patriarch's craftsman's sect. Patriarch was from craftsman's sect. And an patriarch sect from sect and was from. Lu Li didn't say too many pretentious words. Luo Guan sacrificed his life to save him. It was his duty to take care of the craftsman's sect as much as possible. Sect of out craftsmen. Can control. From sect of the city as I. And sect world I from I can. Many senior members of the craftsman's sect were here. They had lived in the city for years. Many of them were formation masters. If he could easily break through the divine artisan city, then things would be much easier. Luo Huang frowned. The other patriarchs whispered to each other. A moment later, they all shook their heads at Luo Huang. Luo Huang sighed. I don't think so. Only Master can control the city. No one else has the right to know its secret. Many people don't even know that the city is a treasure of chaos. Master passed away so suddenly that he didn't tell us. Oh! Luli was troubled. He turned to Zuoqiu Lu, Grand Master of the Hall of Life and Death and the Chief of Cabinet of Mystery. What about you? Do you have any good ideas? If the city cannot be breached, the army of demons cannot be wiped out. There is no other way. The new Chief of Cabinet of Mystery shook his head. The treasure of chaos is a powerful artifact. Only heaven immortals of the three trials can break it. Average warriors cannot. The craftsman's sect does not rely on formations. Not even the best formation masters can crack it. Heaven immortals of the three trials. Luli pursed his lips. He stood up and said, since there is no other way, then let's build a formation first. We will trap the city and crack the evil formation below. Let's clear out the demon slaves on the periphery. Since the city could not be breached, then they had to surround it. Luli did not believe that the demons could stay in there for long. With so many demons trapped, how many months could Great Emperor Yoshing last? How many years could he last? Orders were passed down. All the supreme warriors in the divinity took actions. They began to clear out the demon slaves from the periphery. Those demon slaves were once human beings. Many of them might be from major forces, but the moment they became demon slaves, they had already died. Their souls had fallen into silence. They were just walking corpses. They would rather die than live like this. The demon slaves didn't receive orders from the demons. They were just standing there. It was so easy to clear them out. While it was easy to kill, the warriors who were attacking had a heavy heart. After all, these people were all their compatriots, and even their clansmen and brothers. All the powerful warriors took action. Luli did not do anything. He had been wandering around. Once Yuxing came out, Luli would be able to meet him at once. Yuxing did not move. Nothing happened in the craftsman's sect. Time moved on. Half a month later, all the demon slaves were cleared out. The tens of thousands of human warriors had reached an area 30 miles away from the city. Luli did not let the army move on. He told them to blow up the land nearby to dig out an abyss under the city. Also, he sent someone underground to check and destroy in an area with a radius of 300 miles to make sure that the evil formation under the city was destroyed. There was indeed an evil formation under the city. Someone found a pool of blood thousands of miles underground. The pool was connected to many bloodlines, densely covering an area with a radius of 3 miles. The blood pool was destroyed, and the bloodlines were also destroyed. After half a month, a huge pit was dug under the divine craftsman city. Then, the pit was filled up because Luli needed to build formations under the city. From start to finish, there was no movement from within the divine craftsman city. The shield was up. It was dark inside the city. Everything was shrouded in demonic energy. Psychic power could not be used. Nothing was happening inside either. It was like a dead city floating in the air. Go and build formations. Luli waved his hand. He left the task to Patriarch Ing and the others. He must keep an eye on the city at all times in case Yuxing came out all of a sudden. This time, it was just some trapping formations. Patriarch Ing and the others could build such formations easily. Luli didn't have to do anything. More than half a month later, a few confinement formations were successfully set up. However, on this day, Divine Craftsman City suddenly moved. Chapter 1731. That was right. The city of craftsmen suddenly moved. It trembled. At first, everyone thought they had seen it wrong. But after a moment, the city of craftsmen flew away to the north in a blur. It was so fast, even faster than Luli. Disperse, disperse and hide. Luli blinked his eyes and came back to his senses. He bellowed, which startled the warriors nearby. They scattered to all sides to hide. Whoosh! Soon, the city of craftsmen came back. Their target was the mountain where Luli was standing. The city of craftsmen was not much smaller than the city of time. With a radius of hundreds of miles, it was like a huge mountain. The speed of the city of time was very stressful. It was such a large city, and it was flying faster than Luli. How strong would the impact be? Unimaginable! Ling Qinyan was with Luli. Luli waved his hand and shouted, "Disperse!" Luli himself flew up. He took out the frosty-edge saber and slashed forward. A ray of sword light rose. It made 3 turns in the sky and landed on the city of craftsmen. The blue shield outside the city of craftsmen glowed. People could see it from thousands of miles away. However, the city of craftsmen only paused for a moment. Then, it flew on at a horrifying speed. Whoosh! Luli had to dodge. He slid down and barely dodged the city of craftsmen. The city of craftsmen smashed into the mountain. The entire mountain was torn apart and collapsed. Boom, 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 the mountain slid down. Dirt splashed everywhere. Boulders rolled down. Smoke rose. The city of craftsmen had moved on and was smashing downward. Hundreds of human warriors were running away, including some super mighty warriors from the divinity. Boom! The divine craftsman city smashed into the ground, creating a deep pit. Hundreds of warriors were crushed into minced meat in an instant. Only 2 super mighty experts of the deity world had good reaction speed. They drilled into the ground and escaped with their lives. "Yu Xing, I am here. Come and kill me if you can." Luli flew up and chased after the city of craftsmen. He shouted in rage. However, the divine craftsman city quickly flew up and smashed down heavily, crushing hundreds of fleeing martial artists to death. Luli was furious. Finally, he understood why Yoshing was guarding the craftsman's city with his life on the line and what Yoshing had been doing. He was refining divine artisan city. It was not as simple as controlling divinity artisan city. Instead, it was to completely refine divinity artisan city so that he could use this primordial spirit heavenly treasure. Luli was familiar with this. Many years ago, he used this move in the mortal world. He used the wicked bead to smash many people to death. The difference between the wicked bead and the craftsman's city was like heaven and earth. The wicked bead could even crush super mighty warriors in the divinity. With divine artisan city, old devil Yoshing could go anywhere in the world. No one could break into divine artisan city. To old devil Yoshing, the divine world was his backyard. He could go wherever he wanted. If the divine craftsman city flew towards the land of Yuyan, there were so many people of the human clan there, if they were to casually crush them, tens of thousands of people would die. If they were to circle around the land of Yuyan, tens of billions of people would probably die. It is a weapon of mass destruction. Luli gasped. He went after the Slayer's ghost slash and struck at the craftsman's city again and again. However, Luli's attacks were like hitting iron with a wooden stick. They were meaningless. The shield of the craftsman's city did not tremble at all. Boom, boom, boom. Again and again, the craftsman's city smashed into the wall. More and more warriors were crushed to death. Several super mighty warriors in the divinity were not spared. Dig into the ground. How can you be so stupid? Luli shouted in rage. Seeing that many warriors were still running to all directions, Luli almost cursed out loud. The group of fleeing martial artists all reacted and burrowed into the ground. Moreover, all of them burrowed 10,000 miles underground in a single breath. In this way, no matter how hard the craftsman's city smashed into the ground, they could not be crushed to death. Ling Qinyan sent people to spread the news, and all the martial artists fled underground. The craftsman's city went around and found that the warriors had dug into the ground. The craftsman's city stopped smashing into the wall. Whoosh! The craftsman's city turned around and vanished into the north. Since it was faster than Luli, after the time for one incense stick to burn, the craftsman's city was nowhere to be seen. Luli could not help but swear. What he worried about the most had come true. Yu Xing had controlled the craftsman's city to go to the land of Yuyan. Given the craftsman's city's speed, it would take them 1.5 months at most to arrive at the land of Yuyan. Send a message to Pan Yuqin. Tell him to move all civilians of the land of Yuyan to the underground. All of them, Luli ordered as he saw Ling Qinyan and the other divinities' supreme warriors catching up. Ling Qinyan and the divinities' supreme warriors looked at each other, speechless. Tens of billions of people to the underground? The ground of the land of Yuyan would be hollowed out. Countless plazas and palaces would be dug out. The problem was that there were so many people. It would be difficult to move them all if the ground was not hollowed out. If the ground was hollowed out, the ground would collapse if someone bumped into it from above. By then, wouldn't those low-level civilians be buried alive? Also, it would take time to dig out so many underground palaces, plazas and castles. Could they be done in a month? It would take more than a month to mobilize tens of billions of people. There were too many people, and all the powerful ones were here. The land of Yuyan lacked people and organization. The efficiency would be very slow. But since Luli had said so and the situation was critical, Ling Qinyan did not waste time. He sent someone to send the message. He passed on the situation here to Pan Yuqin and told her to dig some holes and move some people. I will go to the land of Yuyan in advance. Don't be in a hurry. Gather together and think of a way. First, find a way to move people. Second, find a way to crack the craftsman's city. Also, keep an eye on the craftsman's city and send me a message in time. Luli said and then left. While flying, Luli thought that moving was the worst plan. There were too many people. Moving to the underground, to the West Ocean or to the East Ocean could lead to trouble. Many people could die. If he wanted to save those people, he must find a way to break the city before the craftsman's city arrived at the land of Yuyan. But how could he break the city? Where could he find a third tribulation heaven god? Unless there was a third tribulation heaven god in the second tribulation. If a second tribulation heaven god would come down to help, he wouldn't have to wait until now. Cultivate hard and reach the fighting power of a third tribulation heaven god? That was even more ridiculous. Not to mention a third tribulation heaven god, even a second tribulation heaven god would be hard to come by, right? Even if he had hope, it would probably take tens of thousands of years. Now he only had 1.5 months. Let's go to the land of Yuyan first. Chapter 1732. It only took Luli 23 days to get to the land of Yuyan. Craftsman's sect was in the center of the divinity, not far from the land of Yuyan. Luli worked day and night. He only rested for half a day and spent the rest of the time flying. For more than 20 days, Craftsman's city had been flying to the north. On the way, they destroyed 8 cities and killed tens of thousands of civilians. Because Pan Yuqin had sent out hundreds of thousands of scouts, every move of Craftsman's city could not escape the scouts' surveillance. The land of Yuyan was in a mess. It was not because they heard that Craftsman's city was coming, but because there were countless demons in the city of Craftsman. Imagine, if old demon Yoshing threw tens of thousands of demons here and tens of thousands of demons there, countless civilians would be demonized. Not to mention that Craftsman's city alone could crush countless people. Craftsman's city was the #1 city in the world in many people's heart. This city was known as the city where the sun never set. Now, it was controlled by great Emperor Yoshing's sorcery. Such a strange thing inevitably made people panic. There was another reason for the chaos: relocation. After receiving Lu Li's order, Pan Yuqin began to arrange the relocation at once. In any case, there were too many civilians in the land of Yuyan. Accidents could easily happen. Some had to be relocated to the West Sea or the East Sea. Moving here involved a problem. The land of Yuyen was in the extreme north of the continent. If they wanted to move, they could only go to the West Sea or the East Sea. There were many sea beasts in the sea. The population of the land of Yuyen was too large. It was impossible to send enough powerful warriors to protect them. What was more, all the powerful warriors were in the divinity. What would be the result of going to the sea without the protection of powerful warriors? Everyone knew this. That was why many people refused to go to the sea. They would rather die in the land of Yuyen. At least, they could rest in peace and not become food for the sea beasts. If he stayed, he could only dig a hole in the ground. This hole was not something that could be casually dug to hide in. There were too many people going in, and they had to go at least 5,000 miles underground to be safe. So many people had to dig a hole underground. It must be big, right? They could not dig at will, right? Otherwise, when the ground was hollowed out, it would cause a cave-in. If there were too many people, they had to ensure ventilation, not to mention food and water. Otherwise, something might happen after a while. After all, there were many old, weak women and children here. Those children did not have any battle strength at all. Since they couldn't dig at will, they had to do it in an organized manner. The question is, why does Pan Yuchin have so many people? There were tens of billions of people in the land of Yuyen, but would all these people listen to Pan Yuchin? Will they carry out orders to the letter? Therefore, the land of Yuyen was in a mess. Some people moved towards the West Sea and East Sea, some fled towards the immortal realm, some began to dig underground tunnels, some ran into the mountains, and some did nothing but worship Lu Li's statue day and night. When Lu Li came to the King Pan city, the city was in a mess as well. There were even robberies. There were only a small number of soldiers patrolling the city, so they couldn't be bothered with it at all. "Brother," Lu Li heard a familiar voice. Then a white figure flew out from a castle. Lu Li threw a glance and put on a big smile. He flew over and took the beauty into his arms. Woo woo woo. Qi Shir didn't say anything. She just cried her heart out. She hugged Lu Li tightly as if she was afraid that Lu Li would disappear. "Don't cry, Shir. I am back." Lu Li patted Qi Shir's back and kissed her cheek. After she calmed down a bit, Lu Li said, "This is urgent. Let's talk later. A life is at stake." Qi Shir had been helping Pan Yuchin with intelligence. She knew the divinity well. She seemed to have grown up and become stronger. She wiped away her tears, nodded and held on to Lu Li's arm, unwilling to let go. Lu Li flew into the castle with her. At the gate, Pan Yuchin came out to greet them. Lu Li looked at her. She was haggard and her eyes were bloodshot. He said, "Yuchin, thank you for your hard work." "Thank you. Everything is worth it." Pan Yuchin smiled, like a wife waiting for her husband at home. She paused for a moment. She put on a solemn expression and said, "Let's talk inside. It is urgent." Lu Li walked in and found that there were many people in the castle. When they saw Lu Li, they saluted him at once. Lu Li noticed that they were all busy. He waved his hand and said, "Okay, thank you for your hard work. Go ahead and don't worry about me." Pan Yuchin showed Lu Li into an inner hall. Lu Li knew one person in there. It was Yi Kai. Lu Li sat down but Qi Shir didn't. She stood next to him. Lu Li didn't mind her. He took a cup of tea from Yi Kai and asked, "Have Ling Qinyan and the others figured out a way?" Lu Li knew without asking that it would be difficult to relocate after seeing the chaos at the Pan King city. Therefore, the best way was to stop the city of divinity or break it open. Lu Li had thought of a way along the way. However, he could not think when he was flying in the void and he was exhausted. Therefore, he did not have time to think. Yes, Pan Yuchin was worried. She picked up a cup of tea, waved her hand and said, "Yi Kai, tell me." "Okay." Yi Kai said, "Prince of Yen and the others have thought of 3 ways. First, build a formation to trap the City of Divinity. Lady Lu has analyzed the possibility. It is not very likely. The City of Divinity is moving too fast and its momentum is too great. It is unlikely that the formation will trap it, but it is worth a try. Build a formation of entrapment. Lu Li frowned. This was a way. He could build many entrapment formations in this way. If he could build a large entrapment formation and use a group of people to slow down the City of Divinity, it was possible that he could trap the city in the formation. That being said, Yu Xing was astute. Once he noticed something was wrong, he might fly the City of Divinity away. Even if the City of Divinity was trapped, it might not be able to trap it completely. Yu Xing would have a way to solve the problem. Second, Ye Kai continued, we still have to build a formation of illusion. Let Yu Xing control the City of Divinity to go around in circles. That is one way. Lu Li waved his hand. We can build a formation of illusion when we are building entrapment formations. The drawbacks are the same as the first one. Tell me about the third one. Third, Ye Kai faltered at this point. A moment later, he made up his mind and said, the Hall of Life and Death has a palace guarding pellet. It is said that it was given by a force of the second heaven. It can improve a warrior's abilities for a short time. But if the warrior's physical body is not strong enough, he may self-destruct. Even if he doesn't, the source of life of the warrior will be harmed. There will be repercussions. In other words, the warrior may survive or be crippled. What? Lu Li raised his eyebrows. He got to the point at once. How many times can his abilities be improved? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.